Ripley.
And I'm John.
And this is Comicsplaining,
The show where he is risen on April Fool's Eve.
Yes, the most important day, April Fool's Day.
It's a good thing it happens on April Fool's Eve rather than April Fool's. Think of all the times that companies, when they have actual announcements happen, it's like, no, this is actually serious. This is actually serious. This is not an April Fool's Day prank.
Ah, man, I don't remember what it is, but there was definitely one that I saw that really did feel like a prank. I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
I can think of like 3 or 4 times it's happened, and I cannot think of a single one concrete instance off the top of my head.
I know it happens, but I cannot for the life of me remember the company or the item.
What I distinctly remember is April Fool's Day jokes kind of died in 2020.
Everything died in 2020, including one of our comic book artists, unfortunately.
Ooh, that's... ouch.
Yeah, what happened on April Fool's Day in 2020?
Nothing. I think COVID was in full swing.
Yeah. I don't think a single anything has happened on April Fool's Day since, though. I think you're right. I think it killed it.
The evil has been defeated.
Just in time for it to make a return, then?
So do you guys
Much like Jesus emerging from his tomb.
Oh shit, we've come full circle.
April Fool's Day emerges in 2024.
Well, listeners, you'll know by the time you hear this.
So do you guys want to tell me what happened last time on X-Men?
God, no.
Wait,
hang on.
My
brain... Nope, stop.
I can tell you that we sounded pretty good because we got the new sound card.
We did. Yay. We also looked pretty good because I've been working on updating our graphics.
We did. We looked pretty good. I like our new graphics very much.
They're very good.
You made us look pretty cute.
Thank you. Last time, the Shi'ar.
Oh, yeah.
Shi'ar stuff happened.
And Brood stuff happened.
Yes, the Brood were also involved. Let's see. Scott and Aurora met up with the rest of the... Yeah, because they got teleported onto the Shi'ar.
Yeah, onto the Shi'ar Dreadnought.
I'm just trying to, I have this entire story is, one conglomerated thing in my brain, and I'm trying to pick out the parts that happened in the last episode.
You don't want it to turn into another incident.
Shut up.
Look, I believe that you would give us a perfect rendition of what happened. The problem is that it would be perfect.
I know. Right, okay, so they agreed to help, and they got sent back to Earth, but the mansion was destroyed.
Yep.
So they went to hang out at Avengers Mansion, and they were chilling with Tigra, except she was bugging the fuck out of Logan.
Which was funny.
And then, of course, Aaron Storm got attacked by some Brood, and everybody went and fought the Brood, and the Brood escaped, and so did Deathbird. Deathbird was also there.
Deathbird almost killed Colossus.
Deathbird is Lalandra's sister.
Yes.
Just in case you did not remember that, like me.
I completely forgot as well.
Piotr did almost die.
I hope we don't start warfing Piotr regularly. I don't want to see him getting being attacked and dropped as the strongest guy, obviously.
I mean, we don't see that happen with him much.
That's good, because that's a thing that tends to happen to the strongest guy.
No, I feel like this was a pretty special circumstance. But he survived because they all got on the Starjammer, because the Starjammers are okay. It annoys me that the Starjammer is the name of the spaceship and also the name of the group.
Importantly, the spaceship is also the size of New York City.
It's very, very big,
We did not have context for how big the ship was before.
Yes,
We do now.
So Piotr's fine, and they went to go find Lalandra. Yes.
Oh man, I'm almost thinking have spaceships shrunk since then? Because I don't think Marvel...
Does this matter?
No, but it's bugging me because
it depends on the spaceship.
Fair.
Yes. So they went to find Lalandra.
Yeah, they were chasing down Deathbird.
But
yes,
Kitty and
Well, Kitty and Kurt were still with the Shi'ar, but
Yeah.
They got left behind.
Yeah, we're not dealing with that just yet.
okay.
So they caught up with the Brood on a space whale. Yeah.
That they had apparently carved into a living ship.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, honestly. I mean, not cool for
The space whale.
That
space fish,
that
but
was once a sapient being.
it's cool conceptually and visually.
Yes.
So they fought the Brood, and it did not go super well, but everybody escaped alive? Question mark.
Yep.
Well, we'll get back to that on Professor X at some point.
Yeah, Professor X was in the cell with Lilandra. He got captured.
Yeah.
Professor X got captured by Deathbird as she was escaping.
Right.
Yes, so he was put in the cell with Lilandra.
And they rescued those two.
Her
later.
name can be a little bit of a tongue twister sometimes.
Lalandra, bleh.
They did rescue them eventually.
Scott and Corsair did, yeah.
Yes.
They had a whole moment.
Well, yeah, Scott and Corsair had a few moments, actually.
Yeah. Both
They
good
kind
and bad.
of reconnected, I guess. Whatever. Then other things happened. And they were fixing the ship. And it didn't go very well, and Piotr almost died again.
Yep, he nearly tore his injuries back open.
Yeah.
Good job. Well, he isn't used to being hurt.
He's not. That's true. But he's okay again.
Yep.
God, I do not fucking remember this.
Okay, so they tried sending a message back to the fleet above the Earth.
Lilandra tried to send a message to the Shi'ar because the Shi'ar were planning to blow up Earth.
Mm-hmm. But then it gets cut off in the middle.
Right, because they had an imposter among
A
us.
sussy baka.
They did. They had a sussy baka. So then they tried to go back and they had to do something. But
Chuck tried to send a telepathic message, but then something bad happened. We don't know.
Charles tried to contact Kurt and Kitty, but his message got cut off, so Kurt and Kitty had to do stuff. And they escaped from the room they were locked in, and Kitty impersonated the Phoenix to traumatize people.
And it worked.
And
it definitely worked. You triggered their PTSD, Kitty. Congratulations.
They got some of the Royal Guard on their side, and they fought.
They revealed the traitors?
They did, and then Lilandra, the Starjammer showed up just in time, and Lilandra was like, "Hey, I'm here, stop blowing things up."
I'm the Empress. Y'all need to stop this. Space Tucky is in the right.
Yep, that sums it up pretty much well.
And we leave the mystery of what's wrong with Professor X
for
the future.
Professor X has something wrong with him.
Yeah, he's got bald bitchitis.
I think the two of us over here have a guess what's wrong with him.
I think I know exactly what's wrong with him, actually.
Well, we're going to have to see if you guys are right on that, but that's not actually going to be on this one.
I see that, yes.
Yeah.
First up this week is Uncanny X-Men 158 from March of 1982, written by Chris Claremont, pencils by Dave Cockrum, inks by Bob Wysack, colors by Glynis Ween, letters by Joe Rosen, with a cover by Dave Cockrum.
Okay, so I know we all agreed that Rogue's original look was bad. This one I think is equally as bad. Don't understand why she's wearing, like, a fake Nazi outfit with jodhpurs.
I don't know what's going on with the outfit.
I don't know.
I like the gloves, though, kind of.
I don't like the gloves at all. The gloves would be fine with a different outfit, I guess. And I hate that she has the same hair as Logan and Beast.
They go to the same hairdresser.
Clearly.
We open on a fight on Eldritch Isle, though it's more of a spar than a brawl. 3 of the Starjammers, Raza, Ch'od, and Hepzibah versus Carol Danvers. And the human woman is impressively enough holding her own, judo tossing Raza out of the fight before turning her attention back to the other 2 Starjammers. That's not it for her, though. She continues to give it her all until an unfortunately quick flip from Hepzibah knocks the woman flat. She's still not completely out of the fight, but it throws her enough off her rhythm that Ch'od's nearly able to snag her in the bear hug of doom.
Ooh.
She manages to jump free, but she's still caught on the back foot, a foot Brazza manages to grab, allowing the Starjammers to finally dogpile the woman. All this before the wondering eyes of Dr. Corbeau as he studies the readouts of Carol's bio readings. Meanwhile, Kitty hangs out with Piotr and Ilyana, not really watching an alien invasion movie. No, her mind dwells on her feelings for Piotr Rasputin, particularly the turmoil she went through thinking he was dead and then learning that he wasn't. She considers who she could talk to for a long moment, landing on maybe Storm, though she's still not sure. Dr. Corbeau is frankly amazed by the results of his tests on Carol. She might have lost her powers, but after the modification of her genes, she's still a primo specimen. He's not the only one impressed. Moira McTaggart is similarly jazzed by Carol's performance, if a bit more tactful about the pain of the loss.
Mm.
Carol might be doing a bit better, but there's been no change from Xavier. Though Lalandra's going to send in Oracle of the Imperial Guard with her psychic powers to see if she can't guide Charles back out again. One more last-ditch effort to rescue Professor X from his own mind.
I hate Moira's bump it, Bob. I just don't like it at all. Anyway.
I always liked Oracle's look a lot.
I love Oracle's entire design, and I was noticing that as I was putting together the video for the last episode, actually, and I was getting clips, and I was like, this bitch is cool looking. You gotta appreciate a good character design, you know?
Yeah. Oracle begins cautiously at first, floating cross-legged in the air. And then, as if without warning, she's whisked away by a violent current of thought. She screams, sensing that very same troubling hunger from within Charles that he sensed within himself. She can feel his frustration, while that foul something within him delights at both his frustration and Oracle's pain as she continues to writhe in it, cybolts exploding outwards from this telepath. Through the telepathic rapport, Charles cries out that he must kill himself, blasting out with Oracle's psy-blasts. They're bound to hit him. Then Moira has Logan shove his claws in the beam, somehow breaking the energy link between them.
Sure.
Okay.
And sending Oracle flying. In the aftermath, the room is a wreck. Oracle lies dazed against the wall, and several of the computers that line the walls now smolder.
Kurt has a fire extinguisher. It's okay. So does Logan.
They came prepared.
I'm not sure if those computers, if we carted those in, or if they were Magneto originals. Either way, though, they're on fire now.
So
What? I'm sorry. What? I got distracted by Chuck's pillow? What the fuck is going on with that thing?
It came with the place. It's part of the seashell theming.
God.
Look.
Oracle will recover, but it's not clear if Charles ever will. She claims now that his recovery lies solely in his own hands. Unwelcome news to the despondent Empress beside him. But a distraction comes in the form of Kitty Pryde, through the wall as usual, with the news that they're on TV.
Oh, that's not good.
A satellite broadcast of BBC's Panorama fills the screen. At first, their host John Cheever introduces the X-Men, running B-roll of their fight at the Capitol building.
I like the massive screen television that Magneto sprung for.
Oh my god. For this era? Yeah. That's ridiculous.
He introduces the X-Men, running B-roll of their fight at the Capitol building, and their encounter with Deathbird in New York, before turning to an interview with Senator Robert Kelly.
Oh, no.
Oh, an unbiased source, as we all know.
The least biased source they could possibly get.
And he contests Cheever's characterization of the X-Men as heroes. He doesn't see them as heroes at all.
Uh-huh.
In his eyes, they're outlaws. Yet again, carting out the $200 million price tag on that building for the viewers. And you know, I'll grant that one to Kelly, but what I want to know is why did the cops have that number memorized? Like, why did they know how much that building collapsed? They were yelling at the X-Men about $200 million, too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hazard a guess there's some corruption going on because it's New York City cops.
They're getting paid under the table.
But I digress. Anyway, Cheever points out that the X-Men did kind of save Kelly's bacon, which only serves to make Kelly indignant as he launches into his point. How dare you interrupt a politician when he's trying to hit his pre-planned talking point?
God.
Haven't you watched Fox News? Don't you know how this works?
There are more and more mutants all of the time, not just in the States, and they may prove to be a threat to national security. Along with the very spoken threat that, should that be the case, they must be dealt with. After that fun little bomb having been dropped on the gathering, there's another problem. Anyone remember Famous Framus and how Chuck worked with the feds when he was starting up the X-Men?
Yep.
Actually, yeah.
They've surely got a computer system chock full of deets on the X-Folk. If they're outlaws now, that's an issue. Kit Kat's got an idea, though. If they could cook up a virus and plug it into the computer, they should theoretically be able to wipe out all references to the X-Men.
Oh my god, did they make a t-shirt for Ileana?
Yes.
That's adorable.
They made her a little tiny shirt.
Welcome to the X-Men, Ileana. Hope you survive the experience. But who could make such a virus? Well, she theorizes that the Starjammers could, notorious hackers, the Starjammers.
Yes, the thing they are most known for.
Why don't we just have Kitty phase through the computer?
Nah.
We don't need a fucking virus. Kitty can just wipe the servers.
Meanwhile, a shuttlecraft touches down in the Rio Diablo Mountains. Bitch must be quiet as hell because inside, Alex Summers and Lorna Dane don't hear a thing. Obliviously engaged in domestic bliss, cooking up a batch of chili.
Ah.
Their first warning of visitors is a knock on the door, revealing none other than Alex's brother and ta-da!
Dad!
Our father!
Dear old Dad, looking pretty sprightly for a dead man.
You couldn't have called ahead to warn him or anything?
No, I guess not.
I had to learn it in a much more jarring way than this.
Siblings.
The Pentagon has looked more pentagonal. This is one of the shittier pentagons I've seen.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing this was done without a reference.
or a ruler. Apparently.
But alright, pulling up outside of this shitty Pentagon are Carol, Logan, and Storm, undercover. Carol's got her military uniform on, as does Logan have his. And
Logan doesn't go to this school.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, but he still has a uniform, I guess.
And Storm just looks nice, and I guess that's good enough to get her into the Pentagon.
I mean, I can't disagree.
It's enough to get all three of them in, but past the metal detectors is a whole different question. Luckily, Logan's got a medical card for that metal skeleton of his.
God!
So he's all clear to head on through. Next stop, only the most heavily guarded section of the Pentagon, at least according to this comic, the Special Intelligence Service Operations Vault. That's where they're going to plug in this little virus to let it do its work. The group walks the halls, discussing the building's past as a military hospital, which as far as I know, and some very light research went, it was not, but who knows? That's when Carol quite literally bumps into Rogue.
Who's just here.
Who's just...
I mean, she's wearing a much better outfit than she has on the cover, I will say.
It's very cute, I think.
It's cute.
But why is she...
Her hair's still awful.
Yeah.
But why is she here? Yes. We will find out, I'm sure.
The women immediately recognize each other and trauma flashback into how Rogue stole Carol's powers in a bid to free the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Unwittingly, she remained in contact too long, permanently stealing the once Avenger's powers and many of her memories. The whole thing is upsetting enough that it's fight on sight for the ladies, and Rogue decks Carol, sending Danvers sprawling. Leader Lady orders her stopped, and Logan's all too happy to oblige after the hurting she put on Carol, tackling the little lady round the middle. That just lets her get her mitts on him, though, and the young villainess gives him what for anyone else would be a bone-aching blow against the ceiling. But those bones are durable, so Logie shakes it off, getting back to his feet and decking the girl. Bad move. She grabs his arm, using it to wrench Wolvie over for a little kiss.
I hate.
Yeah.
I hate that it's always a kiss. Why?
I hate that she does this myself.
It does not need to be that.
And then his world fades to black. In a flash of lightning, Rogue drops Logan. Startled,
Rogan.
Great. Now, first the kiss, now a ship name.
Oh no!
Startled but not really hurt by Storm's attack, Care Bear would like to rectify that. So she grabs a gun from a responding MP and opens fire. But apparently firepower isn't the answer either. Or if it is, she definitely isn't packing enough of it. Rogue just shrugs off the attack. But this is quickly drawing a crowd, so Storm ices up the floor and sends Rogue flying before covering her and unconscious Logan's exit with a very natural indoor fog bank.
You know, things that normally happen in the Pentagon.
Sure.
World's largest office building or something has its own ecosystem.
Oh, don't worry. It's just the storms that happen indoors. It's welcome to the Pentagon. It's a massive pain.
Once the fog clears, the military boys are pissed that the X-Men just waltzed into the fucking Pentagon like it was nothing. And orders are quickly issued to find those mutants. Luckily, no one cares about the broad who just opened fire.
Right.
No, it's normal. It's the Pentagon. People get shot at the Pentagon all the time.
No one but the deputy director of DARPA, Raven Darkholm, a.k.a. Mystique, a.k.a. worst trigger discipline in the West. Some of these military boys could do to teach you something about that girlie. That's not so Raven.
Oh, and
Kills every time.
And here I'm just amazed they casually dropped DARPA into the storyline.
Yup.
It kills every time with an audience of me. Fun fact about me, when I was, 13, I fucking loved that So Raven.
Amazing.
Anyway, she definitely takes notice of Carol, vowing to take care of her sooner than later. Meanwhile, Aurora shows off her guns by carrying, nay, cradling Logan to her chest.
Wow.
Pondering what the hell the Brotherhood are doing here, and getting pretty damn close when she wonders if they're working with the government.
The government?
The government?
Yeah, I got screwed up with another sentence there.
So Logan's got to weigh as much as, a motorcycle, right?
Girl can bench press. That's not even bench pressing. Girl can lift.
God, what?
I think it's 300, 400 pounds. 300 something. He's heavy, boy.
Mm-hmm.
She's cradling him just lovingly. Fucking bridal carry.
Yeah, seriously.
He will never live it down.
I think he'll be fine with it,
I don't think he'll care.
To be lovingly cradled by a beautiful, buff storm goddess, I think he's fine with it.
Maybe with another couple seconds, she'd have figured out what they were doing here, but that's when Rogue comes Kool-Aid Manning through the wall, ready for round 2.
Seriously, literally.
Kool-Aid Man's through something.
Straight out just fucking...
Oh, yeah!
Normally when we say that, it's just oh, they smashed through, but she's, straight up.
Yeah, well, there are pieces of wall.
This pose is just really killing me right now.
So did she fly through the wall? Because that's what that looks like.
Maybe, probably.
Storm's not in a good position to fight her alone, so she calls out to the car to Nightcrawler for some help. He's there in a flash, flipping Rogue, though he'd prefer she were Mystique. See, he's got some questions for Misty.
Mm-hmm.
Not that Rogue cares, attempting to flatten him and failing. Good news is a groggy Wolverine is starting to come out of it. He recovers pretty quickly, punching Rogue straight through a wall.
Hang on, what happened to his clothes? He was wearing something else.
Yeah, no, he was wearing...
And now he's in his costume?
He was in a uniform, and now he's...
Much to consider.
Yeah, no, is that blue his uniform?
I don't know, I have questions, and no answers.
Did he peel it off when he got better?
I don't know, but I will say I like Rogue's gloves a lot better in the actual color that they are.
Yeah, and the teal. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think this color scheme is much better than what we had on the cover.
Yes.
She does have some kind of ridiculous heels, though.
Well, yeah. That's normal.
I think I just accept that for her, frankly.
I accept that for literally any superhero comic character. It's just something that you have to live with.
Also, I don't think they're sure how old she is yet.
Yeah.
She's still cooking. We're still putting her back in the oven from time to time. Needs more time.
Don't worry. She's gonna be younger soon enough.
And she's gonna have better hair.
Yes.
Much better hair.
Much better hair.
Okay, Logan's here.
Logan's here, and he recovers pretty quickly, punching Rogue straight through a wall. Meanwhile, Carol has arrived at the computer vault, which seems like it's going to be Misty's best opportunity to take a shot at Danvers. But not as Raven. She can't lose that identity. No, she'll just frame Nick Fury for it.
Great.
Who hasn't he shot?
Okay, that's what she did last time, too.
Right?
It's just her go-to.
Well, it's a good...
And I mean, fair enough. He's shady.
Who hasn't he shot?
Thor.
Then if it doesn't work, he'll just go, I was just testing you, kid.
Yeah.
I made that joke last time, too, and I'll keep making it, damn it.
I mean, yeah.
It works.
It does.
Back in the fight, Rogue is still soloing the X-Men pretty effectively, right up until she gets her hands on Storm, and then things get out of control.
Ah.
Kurt moves in to pull Aurora out of the danger zone when Rogue's storm power runs rampant. A flash flood sweeping the X-Men along the halls of the Pentagon, though at least Roro seems to be recovering. Meanwhile, Mystique sticks to her one neat trick of Nick Fury with a gun, because if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Uh-huh.
And it works?
And it works. She shoots Carol in the head. That was easy.
Yeah.
F in the chat.
F.
No more Miss Marvel. No more Captain Marvel. Cancel the movies.
F.
F, I guess. It seemed weirdly easy.
Well, it does look pretty much like a graze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back with the others, mad like wet cats, Rogue's stolen powers appear to have faded again, so we're back to square one. Storm decides to try something else. They can't let her touch them, so instead she ensnares the woman in her cape, setting her up for a monster right cross from Wolverine. But even that doesn't do the trick, and yet again the young villainess busts loose. Meanwhile, Misty moves in, assumedly following Zombieland rules and going for the double tap. Carol, playing possum, springs to life, kicking the gun from her hands before throwing hands with her attacker. The shapeshifter swapping into Storm before Danvers' eyes to throw the once Avenger off her rhythm. Carol's not afraid to choke a bitch, though, and once she gets back into the groove, she gets Mystique into a chokehold, holding that position until Misty passes out and reverts to her usual form. After what happened in San Fran, Carol's straight up ready to kill her.
Ooh.
But we cut away to the fight. Well, fight.
Hmm.
The fight's over. Storm summons up a tornado and carries the young woman out of there because it's time to go.
Wow.
Lucky for Mystique, of the two of them, Carol is the bigger woman, opting to summon the MPs rather than just shooting her. She knows this dooms her to a life spent awaiting Misty's inevitable vengeance quest, because she's a shapeshifter, she will get away.
Uh-huh.
But that sounds like a problem for future Carol.
Yes.
Present Carol's biggest problem seems to be past Carol. Rather than the X-Men, she's first pulled up her own files, ruminating on them for a long while. Those women are gone now, dead when Rogue killed them.
Oof.
And so she puts on a brave face and presses the delete button, erasing her past. The army is seriously miffed about this mutant business. Talk about national security risks. By the time Carol runs the virus and leaves, there are tanks outside. They're not going to find anything to tank at, though. When she makes it to the car, her friends are already there.
So the X-Men are just kind of chilling in a car outside the Pentagon, and
Yeah.
U.S. The U.S. Army and whoever else.
They're all, like, trying to go in the building, and meanwhile...
Yeah, Kurt's just kind of waving there.
Like, hey, out in the parking lot.
Yep, they're here, glad to hear the good news. Next issue, Dracula.
What?
John is constantly surprised every time Dracula comes up,
Look,
even though we are always saying Dracula happens.
I know, but I'm never prepared for Dracula.
No one's prepared
fair.
for Dracula.
It's fair. I understand why you're surprised. I just think it's very funny. Because Ripley and I can just accept Dracula happens to everyone at some point. It's like puberty that way.
Is it now?
Yeah. Or maybe it's more like, I don't know, like the clap. Like you get it and then it just keeps coming back. Dracula just happens sometimes.
If you're not careful, Dracula happens.
Yep.
Use protection?
Like a crucifix.
So what'd y'all think of that?
4.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I'd say 4.
I think I'm at a 3.5.
Yeah.
What's CMRO like?
Well, what do you think?
2.
1. They hated it.
3.7.
Ah.
Next up is Uncanny X-Men 159 from April of 1982, written by Chris Claremont, penciled Bill Sienkiewicz, inked by Bob Wyshek, colored by Glynis Wein, and lettered by Tom Orzechowski with a cover by Bill Sienkiewicz.
Is that a new name?
It is. We've got a new name here. What can I tell you about Bill? Not a ton, honestly. I skimmed around, but while he's done a lot of work in a lot of places, I don't see a ton of fun vignettes I could delve into. Guy's done a lot of shit. His covers are excellent. He's done trading cards, dictator cards, Magic the Gathering cards, a lot of cards. This picture I dropped in the chat the other day of Mitch the Bitch.
Mitch McConnell, that is.
Ah, that was one of his, I
That
suppose.
was
Turtle
one of
Man.
his. Turtle. Am I not turtle enough?
Well, I can see why he might be sticking to one-off art stuff.
Well, yeah, you know, some artists are just really good at, like, cover composition.
Yeah.
He seems to be another guy who keeps his private life private and his business life front and center.
Good for him.
Fair enough.
This is, I do want to note, not him at his Bill Sienkiewicz. It's...
Huh?
You're trying to say something and his name is interfering with it.
Yes, this is not him at his most.
His
Yeah.
peak.
This cover, I like the composition of it, for sure.
This is not like the stuff I showed you, though.
No. But I do like the composition. Also, it's making me laugh because I know what's going to happen.
Dracula.
I'm sorry, I remember the dumbest things sometimes.
I have no idea what's going to happen.
The X-Men arrive in Misty Knight's apartment,
Oh no.
only to find themselves face to face with not Misty Knight.
Uh-oh.
Not Misty is just as shocked as the X-Men to see them here. Though I might suggest locking her door if she doesn't want weirdos just wandering in.
Well,
That doesn't help with Kurt, I'll
or
admit.
Kitty.
Or Kitty, I'll admit.
And to be fair, that doesn't really help with Logan either.
Well, I mean...
He
if
took
was
the door.
determined.
Yeah, but he could have taken it off the hinges.
If
Right, but
wanted
he
to,
didn't.
But if he's visiting a friend, he's not going to do that.
But he didn't.
So wait, did they just go in uninvited?
They didn't knock. They're friends. You know, some friends are just like that.
Yeah, like, they're Kramers. They just barge in.
To Kitty, the woman's face is damn familiar, though she can't place her. Misty's roomie is definitely not the name she's looking for. Finally, it hits her. She is fashion model Harmony Young.
Huh.
And once that comes out, of course, so do Kurt's charms, kneeling to plant a kiss on Ms. Young's hand. Aurora then steps in to explain their presence. Misty offered them her hospitality if they ever needed it. They just didn't know she had a roommate now. But Harmony is cool with it, especially since cute boys are involved. Before they can get into the swing of hangouts, though, Logan reminds Kitty that her parents are coming into town for her and she's gonna have to change and get ready to meet them. She can't just stay here yapping with Harmony all night. But Kitty would really like Aurora to come. Problem with that being, Aurora can't magically concoct an outfit for herself this time for some reason.
Once.
For once, she can't... Why? What changed?
You know what that
Convenience.
means. Time for Harmony to play dress-up doll with Aurora. Rummaging through her closet until she finds something cute for her new friend to wear while admiring her hair.
Gay. Storm just has this effect on every woman she meets.
They're at it for quite a while. As in, Logan manages to drain an entire 6-pack of beer a while.
Oh, God.
The rudest Canadian. Though maybe it's considered good hospitality to have beer available for your guests in their culture.
Though I wonder how quickly it
Canadian
takes...
culture.
How long does it take a Logan to consume a 6-pack?
I mean, fair point. But with that done, Kitty and Aurora head off into the foggy night to meet up with the Wrens. Back in the deserts of New Mexico, Scott is having some brother time discussing the reappearance of their father in their lives. Alex is showing his usual tact. At least when I was adopted, I had surrogate parents who loved me. You had nothing. Well, don't come straight out and say it, buddy.
Come on. Thanks. Thanks, Alex.
Hey, what a great brother you're being.
He's good. He's always good for that.
Yeah.
But Scott doesn't want to talk about that, demanding Alex blast a rock out of the sky instead. We're men, we don't talk about our feelings. Alex hits the rock and Scott destroys the pieces, which Lex is pretty impressed by. With that done, they head back inside, just in time for Lorna to have finished cooking up dinner.
Oh, man. Her powers must be so useful in the kitchen. God, I'd love to have that.
The things you use your powers for when you're cooking for the boys.
Over tasty victuals, the group discusses what comes next. Chris plans to spend a while hanging around Earth, but not forever. Eventually he'll be bound back for the stars. Earth just isn't his home anymore. Where that leaves them is still up for debate. Meanwhile, back at Misty and Harmony's apartment, Harmony appears to be keeping up that interest in cute boys, asking Kurt about his past in the circus when the phone begins to ring. It's Kitty, calling to check back in. She wants to talk to Aurora, but was ist das? But Aurora was supposed to be with you. What? No. According to Kit Kat, after they met up with Kitty's parents, Aurora headed back, and that was hours ago. But if she's not with either of them, then where the hell is she?
Just call her on her cell phone.
What? What's a cell phone? What neither of them know is that as they speak, Aurora lies bleeding from a neck wound in a New York City alleyway. Why were you walking down an alleyway? They bring her in at St. Vincent's Hospital, down a shitload of blood and unclear whether she'll make it through the night. The cops want a statement. Doubtless they want to see if they can get something out of her before she dies, and they no longer have that resource for their investigation. But the doctors aren't really enthusiastic about the chances of that. It's amazing she's alive. She's in desperate need of a transfusion. The cops dig through her wallet and call home, and I guess that must somehow have hooked them up with the car phone. Because they somehow managed to get a hold of the X-Men. Piotr and Logan are fast to respond, on the scene almost immediately, where Aurora's doctor, Dr. O'Hara, explains the situation to them. Perhaps all the panic earlier was a bit overblown. Aurora did lose some blood, but is miraculously mostly okay. That's a good thing, because she's got special blood. So they were having a hell of a time matching it to give her a transfusion. They definitely want to look more into that, and Logan would like them not to do more of that, at the risk of the X-Men's safety. Good news is she's already up and conscious, but the doctor is as surprised as her friends to see Aurora up and about when they enter the room. Not only up and about, but ready to return home against medical advice. Dr. O'Hara strenuously objects, but eventually relents and fetches the release paperwork, as Aurora stares at a pair of glowing eyes out in the foggy night sky. I'm sure it's nothing.
It's fine.
Her friends bring her back to Misty's apartment, settling her in to rest and recover in her friend's bed, after Aurora's reassurance that all she needs is a night's sleep. Where the hell is Misty, anyway?
Great question.
That good night's sleep evades her, though. As she tries to find rest, discomfort racks her. Her senses sharpen, and she breaks out into a cold sweat. Finally, she can bear it no longer, and she crosses the room, opening the latch on the window and bidding the one outside to enter freely and of your own will.
Well, that's not good.
So, I've been very much admiring the art in this issue, and on this page it's especially good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who did this art?
Bill Sienkiewicz.
He did. I thought he just did the cover.
No,
he did the. Oh, wow, nice.
That must have taken.
Very nice.
That one panel must have taken a while.
Oh yeah.
That's closer to like
what he usually does.
Yeah. Than the rest of it. Which
Okay.
is a little closer to more like house style.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like it, and honestly, I've just been really admiring the way he's drawing Aurora's face, because she actually looks like a black woman instead of just a brown copy of every other white woman.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Great work.
The comic might be progressive, but some of the art needs to follow along with some of the writing.
I mean, that's just the standard.
I know.
It's still the standard.
I know.
When Kitty returns from spending the weekend with her parents, she's surprised to find the mood downtrodden and morose. Aurora is in rough shape. According to Logan, she was attacked and caught Padmitis, and though he's hoping Kitty is the cure. So he sends the kid along. Kitty tries opening the curtains to shed some light on the situation, but that just makes Roro hiss and moan, so quickly Kit Kat closes the curtains once more. She looks wretched, pale and exhausted.
Oh, man. Between Kitty's actually looking like a kid, which I think this is the only other artist who's really been able to pull that off.
You can always tell the artist is trying to make her look like a kid and failing.
Mm-hmm. I think this is the only other artist who's been able to pull that trick off.
Yes.
And Sick Aurora on this page? Damn!
Really good.
Busting out some chops here.
Got ourselves a top-tier artist. Not to say that who we've been dealing with regularly is bad, but...
Not hitting the same kind of stuff.
She has a lovely new embroidered silk scarf, though. That's right, she's got the D.
My God.
Though she doesn't really know how, because this guy she got it from should only really exist in her dreams. Kitty leans in to apologize when the light gleams off the Star of David hanging around her neck, making Aurora recoil in pain.
Huh. So, any religious...
We're going with good vampire rules.
So not just crosses, any religious imagery.
If you're good at writing vampires, what you'll do is, like, any religious iconography, so long as the person who has it believes in it.
As opposed to, but I am
The
a
cross.
Jewish vampire.
Yeah.
Kitty begins to think strange things, crazy things, like, you didn't just get back from space.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like you haven't already done a crazy thing in, I don't know, last month, last week, sometime recently.
She leans in to touch Aurora, and Roro flings her back with amazing strength. When the girl phases through the wall, crying, she inquires about the location of Aurora's injury, learning about her neck wound. Very interesting.
Interesting. Of course Kitty would be the first one to put this together. She's a teenager. She probably reads all kinds of fucking supernatural romance.
God, she does look pale, though.
She does. I'm not 100% sure that is accurate coloring, but...
Yeah.
An attempt was made.
An attempt was made, yes.
Misty, wherever the hell she is the most gracious host of all time. Because even after a weekend, and even after Kitty's return, she's still letting the X-Men stay at her place, and indeed Aurora in her room. Assumedly, as long as she's recovering, they're welcome to stay.
Uh-huh.
And as we can see, Aurora is having another highly restful night, feet patting the floor once more to open the window, admitting her lover Dracula and his promises of eternal youth and beauty, things that Aurora claims to want. I think letting your house guest invite more people in is where Ms. Knight should draw the line.
It'd be funny if she had drawn that line and Aurora wouldn't be able to invite him in because Misty Knight didn't permit it, and since, magic rules.
I like that.
This is the most youthful Dracula I've ever seen, actually. Usually when I see him, he's, like, old and wrinkly.
He's also a lot less, I don't know, Eastern European than I'm used to seeing these days.
Dracula dips the Wind Rider low, exposing her throat to him once more, when suddenly our favorite 14-year-old bursts into the room with as much respect for privacy as ever.
Dressed like Indiana Jones.
But this time in the service of good. The girl charges forward, wielding a cross as a weapon, and Drac flinches back, raising his hands in defense as he waits for the pain to begin, but it never comes. After a moment, the vampire lunges at the girl, realizing what's happened. Kitty isn't a believer, so the cross won't work for her.
Yes! They did it right! Oh, I'm so happy. Kitty, if Aurora shied away from the Star of David that you are wearing, why would you then jump to using a cross?
Well, because that's the obvious answer.
Yeah, I guess that's the cultural touchstone, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
He grabs the young X-Men by the throat, throttling her. Suddenly the flesh of its hand begins to sizzle as it comes into contact with the Star of David.
Uh-huh.
Also, I'm not even kidding. This is the Jewish experience in America.
Fighting Dracula?
How often do you fight Dracula, John?
No, I'm thinking, I must use a Christian cross to defeat Dracula. That must be the solution.
I don't know.
You living in such a Christian society that everyone thinks it's invisible when it's not. And suddenly it's...
Right, but how often do you fight Dracula, John?
Yeah, answer the question.
You're shying away. You're getting evasive, John.
Look, I don't want to talk about it.
It's very personal.
Yes. Just like all battles against Dracula.
Yeah.
They're all very personal battles.
That's what a bar mitzvah is, right?
No.
No? Okay.
You do not become an adult by fighting Dracula. That's not how this works.
Well, really? Because that would be fucking awesome.
That would suck for Dracula, though.
Wow.
It'd be really funny if that's what the Batman's
So only girls...
Only girls have to fight Dracula. Oh, God. That was a really bad pun.
I know.
Okay.
Anyway, it's enough to get Drac to drop her, but to Kitty's dismay, Aurora doesn't come to her defense. Rather, she punches?
Yeah, but, yeah.
The girl for hurting her lord before flying out the window after Dracula, leaving the girl in a crying heap on the ground. Having heard the commotion, the others rush in. Please, pretty please, I want them to have made a log jam in the door. Logan's hesitant to believe that Aurora has been seduced away by Dracula. But Kurt takes the business of vampires all too seriously.
Of course he does.
So I'm not the only one who wasn't expecting Dracula. Okay.
They don't play with that shit in his neck of the woods.
Not yet.
Kit Kat then points out to Wolvie that Drac or no, Aurora's not well enough to be out like this, which Wolverine can't really argue, so he warms up his sniffing nose and prepares to track her down. The X-Men scour the city for hours, attempting to search for their friend through the low-hanging fog. It clings thick to the street like molasses, fucking with Wolvie's senses. But he did eventually find their way here to Central Park, just outside of Belvedere Castle. That's when Wolverine stops them, his senses now picking up someone else. It's the big old bat himself, and he sicks some rats and dogs on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are a lot of those in New York.
I didn't know he could do that, but I haven't read Dracula, so I'm forced to believe it.
I think that is a thing. He has command over animals.
Alright, I'm willing to believe it. Kurt leaps instead at the vamp himself, but Dracula just socks him in the jaw, and we don't see him for an entire page after that.
Yeah, I don't know what you were planning to do there, Kurt.
You're beyond your bamfing ability, you're kind of just a guy, and this is literally Dracula, so...
Yeah, I don't know what his plan was there. Colossus protects his babe hunting buddy while he's down, and eventually they clear enough puppies out of there to try for a fastball special. But just as Wolverine is about to remember that adamantium is not one of Dracula's weaknesses, the vamp turns to mist, cackling as the X-Man soars straight through him and belly flops on the ground.
Colossus gently cupping Wolverine's ass.
Oh.
He then re-solidifies for some fucking reason. I think mostly just to flex on Pyotr as he catches the Russian's meaty fist and yeets him through several trees.
By meaty fist, you mean metally fist.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think he was just flexing.
Yeah.
No worries. Adamantium may save us yet, says Wolverine, drawing a claw on each hand and forming them into a cross in front of him. He wasn't taking notes earlier. It doesn't work if you're not a believer.
Hey, Drac, don't tell people that shit.
Dracula merely laughs, but there is a believer in our midst. Grabbing 2 fallen twigs, Kurt forms his own cross, and the 3rd time's the charm. Burn, baby, burn! Infuriated, Drac summons forth a bolt of lightning, which apparently he can do.
Okay. Well, he's been drinking Storm's blood, so why not?
You know? I like that answer. No,
that actually makes sense.
And he does that, attempting to strike the teleporter. Meanwhile, Kitty has snuck away from the fray, slipping off to search Belvedere Castle for Aurora.
Very convenient that Central Park just has a castle for the vampire.
He did some redecorating, apparently.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we're assuming he did redecorating.
No, Kitty says he did some redecorating.
Wait, she's been
probably.
there before?
Well, she thinks he did some redecorating because it's a weather station.
Uh-huh.
So far, no good. She hasn't found her yet, though she's not entirely sure what she's going to do if she does find her. If she truly has changed, does Sprite have it in her to hammer a stake through her heart?
Ugh.
She's unsure. She's exploring the basement levels of the castle when she stumbles upon a coffin. With shaky hands, she opens the lid, unsure what awaits her inside, but it's empty. At the very least, she can spoil it for the undead bloodsucker who lives there, so she splashes holy water into the interior of the coffin, ruining it for any vamps.
That is fucking inspired. Because it's like plush lined, so if you throw holy water in there, it's gonna soak into the fabric.
But does it still work if it dries out at all?
I think so.
Sure.
I don't know how holy...
Maybe.
I don't know... Well, we haven't established how holy water affects vampires.
In this comic, I guess, but I think the rules of holy water mean that it makes the things that it touches holy, not the other way around.
Suddenly, the girl is swatted backwards, instinctively turning intangible to avoid colliding with the wall. Aurora is here, and she's looked better with her pointed fangs and red eyes.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, that is a look.
Kit Kat reasons that she can't be a full vamp yet. That takes 3 days after death. But clearly, some of the transformation has begun.
I told you Kitty reads supernatural romance. How the fuck does she know that?
That's a good question.
She's just,
She's going off of vampire lore.
Kitty Pride, vampire expert.
Vampire lore that she read in fucking
right,
shitty,
exactly.
terrible romance
Which
novels.
is definitely accurate.
Yeah.
Still tearing up, Kitty regathers her stake, urging Aurora to fight the change like the goddess she once was. She then drops the stake, unwilling to fight her friend any longer. If her life be the price, so be it. Meanwhile, the X-Men continue to fight Drac, while Kurt plays Don't Ride the Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
He then does something. I think he might have tried to teleport on top of Drac, but he's hit by the lightning too, only to have instead managed to have taken out his friends.
Yeah, the art is kind of unclear here.
It's my best guess here. You could have been a bit clearer, Bill.
Yeah, the art's been really good, but this one's a miss, my guy.
Anyway, Aurora arrives, and Drac declares that he's going to kill the fallen X-Men.
Uh-huh.
That is a bridge too far for Aurora to cross. She strikes the vampire with a bolt of lightning, his enchanting hold on her mind broken. Drac then turns into a bat, and the pair take their battle to the skies of New York.
More of like a giant man bat.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Dracula tries to win her back, both with words and clawing swipes, but Roro is master of the storm and freezes them out with a blizzard. As a last resort, the Count seeks respite in the Tops of the Park restaurant, crashing through the window and inspiring many unfair Yelp reviews.
One 1 star, a giant man bat and an X-Man crashed through the window while I was eating. The food was really good, service was good, but the man bat ruined it.
And my date got killed by Dracula.
Yeah.
1 star mutant madness.
Yeah.
The two scrap throughout the restaurant as the patrons flee, but slowly Drac's years of experience start to overwhelm Aurora until finally he manages to catch her in his hypnotic gaze once more, bidding her to obey him and accept his kiss. But at the last moment, once more Aurora finds the will to deny the Count, scrambling to grab a table leg to stake him through the heart with. She's not fast enough. Drac grabs one of the looky-loo customers and drags her to his side, threatening to tear her throat out. And so Aurora drops the stake, unwilling to let the woman, or indeed anyone else's death, rest on her conscience. Drac isn't convinced. He believes that in time she will come to see his way of things, but Aurora insists that no, she will not take innocent lives, and no matter how long it takes, she will destroy the Count. No matter what he does, she will never be his. And finally, Dracula is defeated. It was that same strength, that same courage that attracted him to Aurora. Still holding the patron's limp arm in one hand, he bows to Aurora, declaring her worthy of being his queen, but unwilling to force her into that role, to which I say, get in line, you'll be standing behind Archon.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's solid of him, I guess.
He then flies off into the night, stating that Aurora has won her life back. Storm plays tough like she's going to go after him, but she doesn't. Instead, she just heads out to clear her head before once more meeting up with her friends atop Misty Knight's apartment. It's a good thing the X-Men knew just where to meet up. Like they had Misty's apartment as their emergency contact, which how this comic has fucking gone, they may well have had. But the important thing is everyone is okay, including, or especially, as Kitty notes, Aurora. The women embrace, both weeping happy tears at the reunion. The happiness only grows as they head downstairs to meet up with Harmony, Misty,
Oh, thank God.
and Colleen. But of course, every silver cloud has its shit lining, so the phone begins to ring. It's Moira McTaggart, and she has bad news. The professor's condition is deteriorating, and she needs everyone, including Scott, back on Eldritch Isle now. How would y'all rate that?
5. I enjoyed it very much.
You know, considering I was not prepared for Dracula, that was pretty good.
That was honestly, like, probably the best random Dracula appearance I've ever
You know what?
read.
Yeah, no, that is the best. And suddenly Dracula.
It's definitely better than the random Dracula appearance that happens in Thor.
Oh no.
Dracula will return in Avengers Infinity War.
I don't want him there.
Yeah, he
doesn't belong.
He does that. Also, I don't know. There's a lot about this that I enjoyed. 5.
I'm gonna give it a 4.
I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I like the art a lot, but Dracula doesn't inspire anything in me. Ever.
Here's some fun lore that I'm about to drop. Much like Kitty, I was also a teenager who read way too many supernatural romance novels. Not because I was actually interested in them, but because my mom and my sister were.
Oh no.
So I just read them anyway. Yeah.
What do you think CMRO thought?
2.
1.
Y'all aren't taking this seriously.
Look, we are in like a golden age of X-Men. What do you... 3.75.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not like...
3.1.
Ooh.
Wow, that's pretty low.
They don't like Dracula.
They're with me.
Many people do not like Dracula.
That's fair.
Many people do not like when they are reading the X-Men and Dracula shows up because they're like, I'm not reading this to see Dracula.
Was there a mandate to have Dracula?
No, Marvel just like, you know, they like all their monsters and horror stuff.
I know I think Dracula and all that happened because...
They were allowed to at one point, and then once they were allowed to, they were like, fuck yeah!
Yeah, it was like, you know, when you're a kid and your parents are really restrictive on what you could do with, like, your hair, and then when you move out, you start dyeing your hair pink or whatever.
I cannot relate.
I
I
know
haven't
you
gotten a
can't.
different style haircut in my entire life.
I'm aware.
And this one's going to be particularly important to John.
Which is a terribly ominous thing to say.
I knew actually immediately when Ripley said that, what they meant. John took a bit.
Yeah, we had a small unspoken tea break.
Uh-huh. Well, not unspoken, just unrecorded.
Yes.
You do not want to hear the tea break. It is not nearly as exciting as we make it sound.
Did we make it sound exciting?
Yes,
Okay.
obviously.
Next up is Uncanny X-Men 160, written by Chris Claremont, penciled by Brent Anderson, inked by Bob Wysek, colored by Glynis Wein, and lettered by Tom Orzechowski, with a cover by Brent Anderson and Bob Wysek.
Do we know Brent Anderson?
Yes.
Yes.
We're really just getting pencils by just about anyone these days, aren't we?
Well, we've got a stable of about... We go back and forth between, like, two guys, usually. It's this guy and it's Dave Cockrum, usually.
See,
we just got the last guy thrown in.
It's Dave Cochran I'm always expecting.
Yeah.
That's what... And every time we get someone else, I'm thrown off.
You know, I was just thinking, we've been recording for an hour already, so this is probably going to be another super long one, which they've been turning out to be lately. But, like, honestly, I don't mind when the episode is extra long. It's just the time it takes to record it.
Yeah.
Because we generally start after dinner.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't mind it.
But it's okay. I'm feeling strong right now. We're good.
A figure watches the X-Men fighting Storm. Where and why aren't elaborated on at the exact moment. They're less important than the observation itself. Aurora attacks her friends, or at least seems to the observer. As the fight goes on, it becomes more and more clear that this is more sparring than an actual fight, the Wind Rider's attacks not actually damaging her friends. Colossus and Wolvie's fastball special, on the other hand, admittedly might have been a little bit over-exuberant. But even that, they'd expected she'd dodge. When instead they collide, knocking Roro from the sky, everyone rushes to the team leader's side to ensure she is in one piece. It's in the midst of all this distraction that the observer calls to 6-year-old Ilyana Rasputina, tempting the small girl with promises of grand destinies in paradise. She begins to wander off, following the voice deeper into Eldritch Isle. Luckily, Kitty spots her as she leaves and rushes off after the kid. Unluckily, Ilyana's got too much of a head start for Kit Kat to catch up before the kid disappears into a dark temple. Pride enters after her, but doesn't see the girl. She's just about to turn back and get more help when suddenly a circle of light appears around her, freezing her in place. She cries out, but no one is there to hear when Kitty Pryde vanishes in a puff of smoke. Back outside, the X-Men are recovering from their exertions in the usual way. Brews and showers. Kurt suggests one, and Aurora is on board.
Oh, boy.
Though, I do appreciate that Meat Colossus wants some iced tea.
Same.
We stop for a tea break. He also wants some.
If she can muster up a storm, that is. She still feels exhausted from that debacle with Dracula. And it probably doesn't help that she hasn't slept since returning.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She knows she can do this, though, and after a few moments of concentration, storm clouds begin to brew. Delighted, she whips her clothes away, because no one has been naked in this comic yet.
Yeah.
And she can now control her clothes with her mind again.
I was gonna make it. I mean, she probably just could whip them off with the wind, but I was gonna make a joke about them taking, like, a co-ed shower, but then I remembered Aurora, that's very in character for her, actually, so.
Yeah, Aurora doesn't care. She offers anyone who wants in on this rain shower their own little piece of cloud. Logan is very on board with this idea. But that's when Big P points out that the missing Kitty and Ilyana, perhaps to point out to Logan that there are children Wait a second!
There were children here!
Not anymore.
They're uneasy at how long Kitty in particular has been gone. She's an X-Man. Why didn't she call for help? Kurt again voices his unease with the island, and Aurora orders Wolvie to track down the girls. It's easy enough to catch their trails, but when they reach their end, all they find is the temple and its flashing circles.
You know, I actually love Wolverine's salute he gives.
Oh, yeah.
It gotcha, boss. It's a very casual military salute.
Yeah, it makes sense for him, doesn't it?
It does!
It's very in
That's
character.
what's great about it. It actually makes sense, too.
But when the X-Men too find themselves trapped in those flashing discs, good grief,
The producer has arrived.
with vigor, so do they also disappear, just like Kitty before them. Speaking of Kitty, she appears in the middle of a deserted, creepy-looking palace of sorts. Gathering herself up, she calls out for Ilyana, nearly jumping out of her skin when a loincloth Kurt speaks from the shadows. It only lasts for a moment before she embraces him, glad to have found a friend in this grim, ugly place. She's midway through a string of questions when suddenly Kurt gropes her. The shocked teen turns intangible, reeling backwards before spinning on her heel, refusing to believe this could actually be her friend. Before she can get far, Kitty catches her foot on some debris and is sent sprawling. When she looks up, she finds herself face to face with the pink-hued master of this place, Belasco. Anyway, we catch up with Storm and Colossus, lost in a maze of hallways full of these teleport circles. They're not sure how they lucked out into landing near one another, but Storm isn't willing to look a gift horse in the mouth. Petey, on the other hand, doesn't really see that fortune. His thoughts are solely on his little sister and the danger she may be in. In the midst of all this, Piotr finds a silver armlet, and Aurora, clearly not in possession of the team brain cell, decides to put it on.
Good plan.
Like, I'm sorry, if I'm in this situation, I'm not putting that shit on. It is 9,000% cursed. Maybe I'm just a wuss, but like, see where trusting Eldritch Isle got you, and you're gonna wear something from this place? Nuh-uh.
Girl, didn't you just almost get turned into a vampire? Did that experience teach you nothing?
Well, no, because it had nothing to do with this place.
Suddenly, floor tentacles.
Oh! Oh dear! Oh!
Actual tentacles.
Oh dear, yes, actual...
Not like Chuck's wall tentacles that were actually robots.
Yeah, no, these are,
Tentacles.
Yeah, fleshy ones.
Acid dripping and not the fun kind. Floor tentacles burst out of the floor, snaring themselves around Storm's body, attempting to pull her limb from limb. She feels the searing pain as the acid begins to bite into her skin, but nothing she does seems to beat the monster back. In a panic, she calls out for Piotr, but when he attempts to come to her rescue, he instead steps into one of the discs, vanishing from sight and leaving Aurora to face the tentacle monster alone. Things are beginning to look dire when suddenly a transformation begins to ripple through her body. Her skin gains the nigh invulnerable sheen of Colossus, protecting her from the acid, while she gains Nightcrawler's powerful legs to propel her free from the tentacle's grasp, and finally Wolverine's claws, all the better to slice you to ribbons with, my dear.
Huh.
Well, that's not something I expected.
Meanwhile, Belasco imprisons Kitty in crystals of no phasing. And now that he's got a captive audience, he intends...
Crystals of fuck Kitty pride.
Yep, crystals of fuck you, Kitty. And now that he's got a captive audience, he intends to monologue a little bit about what his deal is. He's a disciple of the Dark Ones, who are, yes, Elder Gods, so that Old Ones vibe you were picking up on checks out.
Oh, that's fun.
I knew it was gonna come up at some point.
It was in the style.
Chris was cooking.
They want to conquer reality, but last time he tried to do it for them, he fucked it up and got banished here to Limbo. So now he is going to somehow use the girls to free himself and allow the Dark Ones through to conquer reality. And all that stands in his way are the X-Men. He then calls forth one of his demons, Sim. Sim steps forth, studies a skeleton on the ground, Wolverine's apparently, and plucks one of the adamantium claws free to use as a toothpick.
Well.
Speaking of skeletons, Belasco decides to show Kitty hers.
Oh, okay. That's...
He's a demon.
Yeah.
Casting a spell to pull the bones from the child's body while maintaining her form.
Well, I mean, she has phasing, right? So you could maybe...
She no longer has to deal with lower back pain in the future.
Yeah.
So long as she doesn't phase, which I thought she couldn't do anyway, which
right.
She should be fine. Seems like insurance, huh? And now that he doesn't have to worry about her anymore, the sorcerer turns his attention back to Ilyana. passing her a locket with 5 empty spaces, explaining that as she grows and learns the arcane arts, she'll gain bloodstones to fill each slot, and once she has filled each, then she'll get the sweet destiny she was promised.
Ooh.
Unknown to him, Nightcrawler, this time not in a loincloth, watches all this from above, trying to take in everything he's seeing.
How did he just kind of not get caught up in all this?
He's sneaky.
He is.
He blends into shadows, and this place is pretty dark.
Yup. And he can teleport, and he's an acrobat. And also, he just kind of looks like he belongs there.
And he's kind of genre savvy.
Yeah. He's a smart guy.
Aurora slowly comes to, naked and draped in a pile of furs. Her injuries have healed and her body reverted, though she doesn't know the cause for the change in the first place.
Wait, how many times has she woken up covered in furs?
A lot, probably.
Because I feel like this is not the first time we've seen this happen.
I think that's a natural state for her.
I genuinely think this is not the first time we've seen her come to unaware of how she got there, but she's draped in furs.
I feel like this happened on that one with the space wolf.
Yeah.
Wasn't it a fox?
Yeah.
Something
Space
like
Fox,
that.
Space Wolf, whatever the fuck it was.
This is not the first time it has happened.
I know its name, I don't know what the fuck it was.
This will not be the last time it happens.
Well, yeah, but it's also just kind of a look.
It is.
But when she sees a pool of water, it looks so inviting that she dives in without further thought, really prioritizing things well.
Like I said, learned nothing from that encounter with Dracula.
Once she finishes, the next problem is the tattered state of her clothes. Luckily, her rescuer thought of that too, hooking her up with a bra, loincloth, and capelet, along with more jewelry, because fair enough, that actually worked out pretty well last time, even if I stand by my point.
I'm sorry, she thinks that the clothes that were left here means that she was saved by a woman?
Yes.
How does that, I'm sorry, Aurora, how does that follow?
I don't know. Beats me, man.
That's a reach.
Yup. She might have pulled something with that.
Dressed now with the amulet around her neck, Roro takes to the skies, headed back into the fray. Unbeknownst to her, observed by her unknown benefactor of sorts, who is indeed a woman.
Oh.
Good intuition there, Storm.
I guess.
Loincloth Nightcrawler stalks the halls of Belasco's keep, also observed, though this time by his clothed self. After Kurt announces himself, Dick City is first stunned before leaping at the X-Man, proclaiming himself Kurt's future self, corrupted to evil after the deaths of his friends.
That seems unlikely.
I'm sorry, I'm just stunned by the inconsistent way that this loincloth works. Because it's usually just a straight up like a skirt with a hole for his tail. But then in this panel, we got, like, a solid upskirt on him, and we couldn't just draw his dick and balls out, so now we have to act like there's actually, like,
panties.
Fucking undies under there. Like, come on.
I mean, they could have drawn his dick and balls out if they weren't cowards.
They were cowards.
They wanted that Comics Code Authority stamp on the front of it, they couldn't.
Send this to, Fixing Bad Comic Art on Tumblr, because they will gladly put dick and balls on him. That is a very niche reference. I'm sorry if you've never been on Tumblr.
I've never even heard of that, but I'm not shocked.
You've never heard of that?
No, but I'm not shocked it exists.
Yes, shout out to Fixing Bad Comic Art on Tumblr.
Evil Kurt goes for the throat, trying to choke the life out of himself, which is a good and smart thing to do for his continued existence, maybe.
You know.
I mean, maybe he wants that, though.
He said he's his future self turned evil, and now he's killing...
Turned evil out of grief for his dead friends.
So now he's killing himself in the past?
Yeah, so maybe he's like, I can avoid this entire situation.
Limbo is weird anyway, so
Yeah.
maybe it wouldn't fuck with anything anyway. The pair then bamf away, continuing their battle before eventually it's Loincloth Nightcrawler who appears before Belasco, begging for praise as he reports Kurt's death to the sorcerer.
That seems legit.
Yes, he's definitely dead.
A likely story.
Good Kurt is definitely dead and not pretending to be bad Kurt. He would never do that.
No.
Wolverine...
Oh, fuck.
Whoa. God.
Wolverine, too, is left wandering the halls of Belasco's hold, not really a fan of his interior decorations after he comes upon what appears to be the body of Colossus, pinned to the wall with his chest caved in.
Yeah.
It's weird, though, because this isn't the Petey boy we know and love. He's older, which jives with the weird old sense Logan's been picking up in this place.
Mm-hmm.
He's still thinking it over when a big purple hand tosses him backwards and rips his shirt off, but only his shirt because Aurora's already been naked this comic twice. It's Sim. I'm calling him Sim, damn it.
Sim.
That's probably how it's actually pronounced.
You know, just like Chode.
Fuck
No,
you.
we're not doing Chode anymore. Chode has been banned.
Chode has been banned from the chat.
So mean to the Starjammers.
It's Sim, and if he's to be believed, he's the one responsible for Colossus here. Wolvie, finally with a good scrap on his hands, just dives at the demon, claws out, though his head just bounces off him with a hefty clod.
Actually, I think
Sim punched his head.
Woof.
Yeah, like Logan dove in, but Sim just
punched faster.
punched his head straight down. Because there's motion lines for his hand.
I see. Okay. He falls to the ground, disoriented and unable to defend himself as Sim readies to stomp the life out of him. Luckily for Logan, one of those teleport discs lights up around him, and he teleports to safety just as Sim's foot crashes home. He then exposits for us that technically he could be just about anywhere or any when. These things just kind of show up.
Oh, wow. Even Sim's bothered by the whole thing.
Great.
But there's another X-Man he can fight because the second Colossus has arrived on the scene. He's here and kind of creeped out by his dead body on the wall.
That's fair. If you saw your own corpse...
Though he's not really going to say anything about it.
Of course.
That's when Sim pulls out that Wolverine claw he was toting around in his thunderwear for some reason.
Yeah, that seems uncomfortable.
Right? And chucks it so hard that even in his metal form, it stabs into his shoulder like a hot knife into butter.
Woof.
Ooh.
Sim then offers him an ultimatum. Die easy or die hard. Piotr opts to die hard, so Sim goes for the throat, locking giant purple fists around the Ruski's throat. He tries to use some of Scott's judo tricks, but the power imbalance is so out of whack that nothing he does seems to break Sim's grip. The demon begins to lift Colossus off the ground when suddenly he yelps, dropping the X-Man. Wolverine is back and he stabbed Sim in the ass.
Good.
He also seems to somehow look more naked.
He's not more naked.
I know, but...
It's really killing me, though, that Sim is just wearing, like, wrestling shorts and
the tiniest vest.
The tiniest vest he could find.
Look, he likes being mostly naked.
The tiniest vest.
The
Why even
tiniest
bother
vest.
with the vest?
It's not doing anything!
That's the point. It's not supposed to do anything.
Are you saying that he's the demon equivalent of a Chippendale dancer?
Yes.
Okay.
That's terrible.
Maybe his boss just likes having the...
Maybe that's his work uniform.
It's his uniform.
Yeah.
This is what the bouncers wear at Belasco's castle.
Look,
Yeah.
Belasco likes to see them leave. And come.
Gross.
Anyway.
And now that he's got his attention, he comes back in for more, slicing and dicing at Sim's guts for all it's worth. It's not worth much. Even after all that drama, he didn't leave a mark. And worse, Sim gets a hold of him, picking him up overhead. That's when Colossus comes in with the save. He doesn't like striking from behind, but if it means saving his little buddy, he'll kick Sim in the ass. And that's what he does. He kicks Sim in the ass, knocking Logan from his hands and the demon into one of the teleportation circles.
Neat.
Colossus is glad for the save in the first place, even if he turned it around with one of his own almost immediately. It was well timed. But Logan protests that it wasn't anything about timing. He had some help there. He then gestures at a familiar woman. Even if he can't explain it, before he can question how he knows her scent, she uses her magic to send the pair of them away in another teleportation circle. They reappear in the middle of Belasco's throne room. Belasco talks some shit about how it's the first and last time they'll meet. Of course. That's when Loincloth Nightcrawler jumps up to deck him in the jaw.
Gasp! Nobody
shocked.
saw it coming.
It's definitely not in his wheelhouse to pretend to be someone else.
Followed shortly
His
by...
literal self. This is the easiest impersonation he's ever had to do.
Yeah, he doesn't even need a holographic projector.
Followed shortly by Storm, flying in, zapping the sorcerer with a bolt of lightning. Outnumbered, Belasco turns to run, or at least get some backup. Nightcrawler explains that he defeated his doppelganger and has been playing along the whole time, but there is a problem. Kitty has been separated from her skeleton.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Yeah.
This fills Aurora up with such fury, she immediately makes to follow Belasco and make him pay. But suddenly her winds are blocked by a gust not of her own making, and a voice commanding her not to go. It's the woman who's been helping the X-Men all along, older Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Once upon a time, she too made this choice. She made to follow Belasco, and she lost all of her friends for the choice.
Ooh.
But that still leaves Kitty trapped in Belasco's crystal. Or maybe not, because old Roro might have a solution for that. As we've seen, she too is a sorcerer of no small ability. In her years here, she's taken to studying magic. Belasco hoped it would corrupt her like it did Nightcrawler, but sorry, tough luck, Storm's made of sterner stuff than that. Carefully crafting sigils with her hands, Aurora weaves her spell, reuniting Kitty's skeleton with her body, allowing her to free herself from Belasco's crystal. The girl gratefully flings her arms around old Roro, confused by the oldness, but hey, no time for that. A demon comes bursting onto the scene to interrupt the happy moment. Wolverine cuts it down, but he doesn't expect it to be alone. They've got to get moving. But where?
We have no time to even see him kill the demon.
Nope.
Back home, of course. Storm already got lucky with one piece of mystic jewelry, and it turns out that amulet of hers is also special. It holds the power, when paired with the proper spell, to cast them back across the dimensions to home, and to forever close the gateway behind them so that Belasco may not follow, his plans for the Dark One's ascension ruined, at least for now. That earlier demon was indeed just the vanguard of a larger force. Belasco's not just going to watch his plans go up in smoke like this, though, and so he sicks his army of demons on the group. But old Roro's not going to let him win, and holds them off single-handedly with her magics.
I love this older version of Doomed Aurora who just learned magic.
Just learn magic.
You know,
Yeah.
as you do when you're trapped in limbo.
I mean, she's already a major powerhouse, and she just
learned magic.
Yeah.
She's not even trapped. She could have gone home whenever she wanted to. She just had no reason to go home.
Well, yeah, her family's dead.
Yeah.
Where
She just stayed here to keep
I
Belasco here.
I just like anytime any character has like a future or alternate version of themselves who's a master of magic, that's very entertaining to me.
But she seems competent enough that I actually believe it.
One of her teleport circles begins to form around the X-Men, this one massive enough to encircle the entire group. But just when they're about to go, Belasco manages to slip by old Roro and snare one of Ilyana's arms in his grasp, pulling the girl from the circle. Not so fast. Kitty grabs her other arm, and the little girl is caught as the rope in this unfortunate game of tug-of-war, crying out in pain.
She's actually caught between the panels.
Yep, that's cool.
They begin to rematerialize on Eldritch Isle, and the circle leading back to Limbo begins to shrink, but Kitty keeps her grip on Ilyana, determined not to let the youngster go. For a moment it seems like she's lost her, but then all of a sudden Ilyana is back again. With a hefty wrench, everyone pulls together, and they manage to wrench her free. But who comes out the other side? It's not the small girl who they had, but a young lady around Kitty's age.
Ooh boy.
Confirmed later that night by Moira's scans, Ilyana is now 13, nearly 7 years older than she'd been mere moments before. Pyotr is absolutely devastated, unsure how the hell he's going to explain this to his parents.
Right?
Oof. You had one job, Pyotr.
But more than that, Ilyana spent years of her life in that hell, years of what should have been innocence. What is she now? He's not even sure. A bitter Pyotr Rasputin steps away from his friends to his sister's bedroom to check on her. When he does, the girl awakens with a terrified start, unsure of what's come for her, beyond reassured to find her big brother instead. She talks for a long time about how glad she is to see him, and it helps put his heart somewhat at ease, until finally he tucks her into bed, and Ilyana drifts off to sleep with her brother asleep in his chair at her bedside, her stalwart protector. Unseen to him is how her hand unclasps from around her medallion. Unseen to him are the bloodstones inside, several of which have been filled, and once they all have been, then she shall ascend to her glorious destiny, so says Belasco.
Who is holding a Fozzie Bear.
Her Fozzie Bear.
Yeah, her Fozzie Bear. But it looks real weird in his hand.
Well, he's fucked it up significantly.
Yeah.
How'd y'all like that?
Oh boy.
John, how'd you like that?
That was pretty good.
How you rate that?
Going to give it a 4.5.
I'll give it a 4.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4. What do you think Samuro thought?
4.
Sure, 4.
3.88.
Ooh.
Close.
Yep, pretty close. And while we've got you here in the middle, I think we need to go through our stuff. Don't forget to hit the buttons, like, subscribe, hit the bell button. If you want to hear more from us, leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear whatever you've got to say.
Leave a comment. Tell me if you like the new graphics.
Yes.
Yes.
We love the new graphics. Tell us what you think. Socials.
Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Blue Sky,
Instagram,
I guess.
If you want to shoot the podcast an email, we are comicsplaining@gmail.com. We'll read it out on the show. If we get anything.
You can find us on our Discord.
Yep, we include a link in the description every episode. And if you want to throw the show a couple bucks, we are on Coffee.
Yes.
On with the show.
Wait, the Warriors 3 got their own book?
Yep. So why don't you guys tell me what happened last time with Thor?
Mangog.
Mangog's butthole tale.
So,
Uh-huh.
Mangog, so I'm not exactly sure when it happened, but Mangog revealed himself that he was pretending to be Odin?
Yeah.
Did that happen last time?
Yeah, kind of in the middle.
So
Yeah.
that was the middle of that.
There was some shit that happened before that.
Quite a bit of shit that happened before that, actually.
Revolutionary Balder.
Right, but before... First, they got back to New York.
Yeah, it started with Thor and Jane returning from South America.
That's where it was. I couldn't remember exactly when last week started.
And there was a traffic jam that...
No, before that.
I don't remember what happened before that. I knew
Thor
something
had
happened before that, but I don't remember what.
Thor had to save a window washer.
Oh, right. Thor had to save a window washer because there was a freak storm.
That was defying him.
Yep.
Yep, so he saved the window washer, then tamed the storm, then there was a freak traffic jam.
Because someone tried to run over Volstagg.
Right, someone tried to hit Volstagg with their car.
And it didn't go well for the car.
Yes.
Right. So Thor solved that problem too. By the time he got back to the apartment, another problem had come up. That problem being Balder is back. Hey, Dad is crazy.
Yeah.
Like crazier than usual crazy, which is saying something.
Yep.
Right. This is a problem. You need to come back. Dad is having problems.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So they went back and
all of them.
All of them, including Jane.
Including Jane.
Yeah.
And first things first, I think.
I'm the realist.
Yeah. I believe the first step of the plan was to free the fucking Vizier.
Yes.
Our good and dear buddy Seth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did that, and then the Vizier turned Jane into Sif.
He sure did.
He gave her a sword, not knowing what it would do. It turned her into Sif.
Yep. Jane's gone now. We've got Sif back.
We don't know if we're going to get Jane back again. We may or may not.
We also don't know if this is an upgrade.
It's kind of a lateral progression.
Yeah, this is a side grade. They're both sexy lampposts.
In fact, it is a side chick.
They're both.
No, that's a whole different thing.
I think they're both sexy lampposts for the most part.
Yeah.
But only one of them speaks Spanish.
Oh no! Get Jane back now!
We definitely need that ability right now while we're in Asgard.
Yes, Spanish is very important at Asgard.
And Sif was important because...
Was she?
Was she?
Yeah, she had to help the others turn the rest of Asgard against Odin.
Right, but
While Thor went to find Carnella.
supposedly that's something she was useful for. So
Yeah.
In theory, hypothetically.
I think she's more useful for that than Jane is.
They also
Probably.
went next step, go to find Carnella, see if Carnella can help.
Yep, because Thor tried to get into the palace and there was a force field.
Some kind of force field.
Yeah.
Yep, so they went and they got Carnilla, and Carnilla was kind of a bitch about it, but did eventually agree to help.
Yeah, but she always is.
Yeah.
That's what we love about her.
So they
She's
did.
messy.
So while they're working on raising a civilian army,
Revolutionary Balder and Revolutionary Thor are going to overthrow Odin.
Well, mostly Revolutionary Balder. Thor was more focused on talking to his dad.
I know. But Balder is the man behind the figurehead.
Odin has moved the Odin sword into his throne room and has indeed perched his throne on top of the Odin sword in a compensating for something.
And it turns out there is something he's compensating for. Not being Odin.
Yeah, true.
Having a butthole tail.
Yeah. Having those quote-unquote hands. He's compensating for a lot, actually.
Yeah. So Carnella helped Thor get in, but no one else could get in.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so then they started fighting, and it was revealed that all along, Igron pulled some shit because he came upon a tiny Mangog in the dungeon.
Somehow.
Yes. Not clear on how Mangog got there.
What's even wilder is it turns out when way back when Odin pieced out after
the Egyptian thing.
Yeah, the Egyptian thing in which he
He just didn't come back.
Yeah, he kind of disappeared.
Yeah, he just kind of left. I guess
nobody knows what happened.
Yeah, literally no one knows. Maybe he's finding himself somewhere else?
So Igron and Mangog took advantage of the power vacuum to install themselves at the top, pretending to be Odin and his top advisor.
Yeah, Igron was somehow tapped Mangog into
the life force of all the Asgardians.
Yeah.
But eventually, once it got revealed, well, it's not like Thor could really beat Mangog. It's not really in his wheelhouse. However...
debatable.
But, so then, once it was revealed to everyone...
Thor got defeated, by the way. In the interim.
Yeah. And then, Mangog was like, well, I don't actually need you, Igron, so he fucking disintegrated
He
him.
literally killed him. Fully.
But it turns out, he might have needed to be Odin or something, because now that everyone knows, he's no longer getting the life force of everyone around him.
Yeah.
Which I still think that's kind of bullshit and changed from the way it was explained, but hey.
You're not wrong.
Look,
just because I can no prize an explanation doesn't mean you're wrong.
Look, Mangog has been Calvin Ball the entire time.
True. So
Every
true.
time we meet him, he works differently.
I mean, we're not even mentioning the point of why does he want to rule Asgard now?
That included.
That's new. Anyway, what happened?
Mangog vanishes out of existence?
Before that. He went to make good on his threat and draw the Odin sword.
Yeah, but that didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Thor fought him off long enough that he disappeared.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have any energy.
Right.
Left, and we were left with a great many questions.
Yes.
Which we aren't apparently going to get answers for right away.
Not right this second, no.
Unless this Warriors 3 comic has answers for us.
In fact, we are going back a little bit to read Marvel Spotlight number 30. from July of 1976, written by Len Wein, penciled by John Buscema, inked by Joe Sinnott, colored by Glynis Wein, lettered by Joe Rosen, and the cover is also by John Buscema. So, I do have to give a little content warning for suicide.
Well, then.
It's not anything serious, but it does come up. So, just keep that in mind. We open immediately on a very fun splash page, showing our lads dominating the patrons of a seedy waterfront bar. How did they get here? Well, I'm glad you asked. Now that your attention has been grabbed, Len is going to rewind to explain how this situation happened. And this comic actually takes place concurrently with Thor number 246 and 247, where Thor and Jane went to South America to find Firelord.
I suspected as much.
Which means that our story begins with the Warriors 3 alone in New York City, because Thor didn't take them for some reason.
The Warriors 3 are alone in New York. What trouble could they cause?
Surely
Traffic
they couldn't
jams.
get up to any shenanigans. If Thor expected them to sit around and twiddle their thumbs until he comes back, then he was sorely mistaken. So proclaims Fandral to his two buddies, who are not quite as keen on this idea. In fact, he knows exactly where to start, by calling a cab. He's heard that the drivers of these chariots know just about everything to be found in the city, which means a cabbie is the ideal guide for our trio.
Oh, no.
There's just one problem with this plan. The boys have seen 6 taxis and not a single one has stopped, despite Fandral's attempts to flag them down. In fact, it seems like they actually sped up after spotting the group.
Maybe they know.
I wonder why.
They're known.
Well, more like they're a group of weirdos.
True.
Yet, Fandral is determined, and finally one of the cab drivers stops. Though as the Warriors 3 pile into the back seat, he seems like he's experiencing some pretty immediate regret. The driver, whose name is Myron J. Maxwell.
Why do we know that?
Because he says it.
Oh, okay.
He introduces himself. He asks our boys where to, and for that matter, why the funny get-up? Is there a costume party or something? Fandral finds his words curious, proclaiming that they are in search of entertainment, excitement, and fair maidens. Myron still doesn't know what to make of them, but he knows exactly where they need to be, much to Fandral's delight. So the cab speeds off as the boys bicker, but soon they meet with an obstacle. The road is completely blocked by a police perimeter that's barely keeping a gawking crowd in check. Fandral leans out of the car to check what all the hubbub is about before urging his comrades to join him because there's a damsel in distress.
Because of course there is.
Hogan orders the cabbie to wait for them, and while he's willing to do that, Myron does insist on keeping the meter running.
Because of course he does.
Of course.
I mean, if they're going to pay him, it's not going to be in anything the cab company takes.
It's gonna come up, trust me. So the damsel in distress here is actually a young woman who has climbed out onto a precarious ledge with the intention to,
take a nosedive.
As I said, content warning. Though, judging by the gathered crowd, it seems that she started to have second thoughts once she reached the precipice. Because I don't think there would be that many people there if she hadn't been there for a while, right?
They actually set up a crane and
they
some
have
guy...
they have a crane and some guy trying to get her down. There's an entire operation going on. So clearly this has been happening for a while. Still, she shakily assures the onlookers that if anyone tries to stop her, she will do the deed. Volstagg actually seems to immediately understand and empathize with this situation, though Fandral is shocked and bewildered. The cops don't really do anything to stop the trio from pushing through the crowd, and just kind of watch as Fandral begins to climb the side of the building.
Well, unless they want to start shooting him.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, but they could try.
And they would fail.
Yeah, but
it would be funny.
I would give them points for trying. So the girl on the ledge is surprised to see him, but Fandral's charm and fast talking disarm her enough to explain her predicament.
Well, I'd be surprised too if I climbed out on a ledge and some guy climbs up the side of a building.
a guy in a fucking, like, Robin Hood cosplay.
You know, I was planning on doing a header off the side, and this guy literally climbed up like it was nothing.
She introduces herself as Mary Miller. We've got a lot of alliteration going on in these names.
Not shocked.
And she says that her fiancé, Arnold, is the lead salesman at a jewelry store.
Len caught Stan disease.
Yeah.
That's not shocking. The two are madly in love, but as it turns out, Arnie owes money to some loan sharks that he doesn't have the funds to cover. It's never mentioned why he borrowed money. It never comes up.
I'm guessing it's just the nature of the business.
I guess. The jewelry store business?
Yes.
The gang in question is now forcing him to help them rob the jewelry store to pay his debts, and Mary is absolutely convinced that Arnold isn't coming out of this unscathed. Whether he gets killed or caught, it's the end of the line for these lovebirds.
This seems like a bit of a drastic.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Being the hero that he is, our dashing Fandral immediately proclaims that he and his friends will defeat the loan sharks and free Arnold from his commitment. Mary can scarcely believe that he would do that for a stranger, but it's enough for her to reach out a hand. But then her foot slips.
Because of course it does.
Of course it does. And as Fandral is unwilling to let her go, they both fall toward the street below. Our hero catches himself on a flagpole for just a second before it snaps. But a second is all he needs. He tosses Mary toward Volstagg, who rushes to cushion her fall as Fandral himself lands on the sidewalk nearby.
Wow.
He complains about the hard landing, but seems fine, as we all know that Asgardians are made of pretty sturdy stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No time to rest. We've got a mission and our chariot awaits.
Oh no, this poor cabbie.
This poor cabbie.
He's getting paid, man. A reporter tries to stop Fandral for an interview, but when he doesn't take no for an answer, Hogan threatens him with a knife.
A knife up the nose.
They pile back into the cab, where we learn the new lore that Fandral has a lisp.
Huh.
Sure.
Duly noted.
Yeah, not something I would have called.
No, it's strange that it's never come up in...
Anything so far.
Also, we learned this because Myron says, for a guy with a lisp, you're alright. What does that mean? Are you calling him gay?
I think you're calling him gay.
Whoops.
I think you're calling him gay.
That's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going with that because of the costume.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And the perfectly coiffed hair.
Yeah.
So you think he's into theater?
Maybe. You know,
Thinks he's a friend of Dorothy.
You know, I kind of took that at face value when I was reading it the first time, but now I'm like, yeah, actually.
Because, I mean, you know.
Fandral does kind of have that vibe.
Yeah, of the three of them, he has that vibe the most.
I tend to think of Fandral as a disaster bisexual, so, you know, it's fine. Anyway, Myron tears ass toward the jewelry store. It is nighttime, by the way. I wasn't sure about that until this page, but it is.
Yeah, that is a problem with art styles of this era.
Yeah, more like the coloring. Mary gets left behind in the cab with Myron to guard her, though to his credit, he does pull out a big wrench and offer to crack some skulls.
Well, hey, you can't be a cabbie without,
How the hell she fit in this fucking cab?
It's a great question.
Clown cab.
Oh wait, I guess she could fit in the front.
Yeah.
3 guys in back, her in front.
Yeah.
Barely, but it's a big cab.
The Warriors 3 sneak around the side of the building to find an entrance, but instead are approached by a homeless man asking for change. None of them have the time or patience to deal with this wino, not while lives are at stake. The fellow asks if he can help, and while the boys consider how to enter through the back door without causing a ruckus, the beggar just walks over and opens it.
Mm-hmm.
Impressive, or at least it would be if the door had been locked.
That is amazing.
The robbers are feeling a little jumpy as they take stock of their ill-gotten gains. I'm assuming that Arnold turned the security system off or gave them the keys or something because they're just quietly taking everything out of the cases. It's a pretty neat job, all things considered, but none of them could have accounted for a roaming band of Norse gods.
You know, that's not usually a thing most criminals expect. Like, you expect Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're being quiet about it. Because Spider-Man's not going to see this one coming. Because, you know, he has louder villains to deal with.
Right.
Maybe Matt Murdock? You know.
It's not even Thor. Like, you might expect Thor.
Yes, you might expect Thor. You can't.
But you wouldn't expect Thor's buddies.
You can't plan for Thor.
Thor's drinking buddies.
Right.
But you can't really plan for Thor.
No, if Thor shows up, you're fucked.
Yes, but, you know, you can kind of expect that maybe he'll show up if you do this enough.
Right.
But these guys that you probably don't even know the names
There's
of?
no plan for these these idiots.
No one's planning for them.
You can be like, hey, this is the neighborhood where Thor's been seen.
Right.
I won't be there.
Exactly.
But they took a cab to
They
get
did.
here. So this isn't even his
The cab
neighborhood.
tore ass.
This isn't even Thor's neighborhood. You can't
No.
plan for Thor's buddies.
Showing up across town. Fandral and Hogan get the drop on these goons, taking advantage of their surprise to knock out two of them right away.
Ooh.
A third robber pulls a gun, but Hogan disarms him by throwing his mace.
Mace beats gun.
Once again, we are throwing weapons that are not meant to be thrown. I think all of them have been hanging out with Thor too much.
Yes.
Time for some slapstick, because Volstagg rushes in last, but he slips on a rug and crashes into one of the display cases, which has the happy side effect of taking out the last two thugs.
Okay.
Well done, everyone.
We take those. We take those.
It's fine. He did something, at least.
At least.
I'm not saying it's good, but, you know.
No, I get you, bud.
Volstagg goes back outside to get Mary, as all the robbers are wearing masks, and there doesn't seem to be anyone else here. Fandral asks her to identify Arnold, but she says that none of these dudes are Arnold.
Well, that's weird.
Which they would have known had they asked their new homeless friend, who remarks that Arnie left some time ago. The dumbass robbers left him on lookout in front of the store, alone, and as soon as they entered the building, he called a cab and took off toward the waterfront.
Wow.
Well, time to cram everybody back into the taxi, including our new friend, whose name is Raglan T. Peppermill.
That is a name.
But his friends call him Rags.
How convenient.
Yeah.
That is a name.
It is a name.
I suspect he invented both parts of the name.
At this point, the car must be stuffed full to bursting. And the narration says that it groans under the weight, which makes sense because Asgardians are notoriously dense.
Yeah.
They take off just in time to miss the police.
Good.
And arrive at their destination moments later, thanks to Myron's flagrant disregard for traffic laws.
Well, what kind of cappy would he be if he regarded traffic laws?
Yeah. Of course, the waterfront isn't much to go on, so the lads decide to start asking around at a local bar. Mary gets left in the cab with Myron once again, while Rags accompanies the Warriors Three. I mean, by fantasy story logic, the bar is the logical place to ask.
It is. It is if this was a Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
If this was Dungeons and Dragons, that's what you would do.
That's what you would do, and that's the logic these guys are running under.
Exactly. So, Rags is familiar with this place, and he knows what Arnold looks like, so his help is kind of essential.
Otherwise, they're looking for someone they don't recognize.
Exactly. The trio ignores the jeering patrons, walking directly toward the bartender. Instead of getting to the point, Fandral orders up some mead.
Oh, god damn it.
As he explains to Volstagg that endearing themselves to the locals may make it easier to gather information.
I don't think they're doing that.
Though judging by the barkeep's reaction, I don't think it's helping. And also, I'm kind of shocked that this place has mead.
Actually, yes.
That's not really a common beverage.
Not in the 70s.
No.
You might be able to get it at a finer bar now, but not a hole in the wall like this place looks. This is a local, not some fancy...
Well, Volstagg wanders off to mingle, where he immediately hears Big Bull Bolowski bragging about how he knows just about everything about everyone in these parts.
Congrats, you're their man now.
How convenient. The Lion of Asgard politely approaches the man, but doesn't even finish his question before getting shot down. Volstagg is being pretty nice about it, but Big Bull Bolowski is a bit of a blowhard and wants him to back off.
He's actually taller than Volstagg.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
That's when Rags steps in, informing Big Bull Bolowski that if he doesn't back off, Volstagg will make him regret it. Volstagg then manages to pull Rags and himself out of the way just before Big Bull Bolowski takes a swing, forcing him to punch the guy sitting behind them.
Good job.
And now we've come back to the first page, as the entire place devolves into a rowdy brawl. Fandral leans on the bar to enjoy his refreshments, but one of the patrons finds his nonchalant manner offensive and tries to give him the chair. Fandral doesn't even put down his drink as he delivers a swift kick to the man's stomach, which, knowing Asgardian strength, I feel like is probably going to cause some long-term medical issues.
Yeah, probably.
3 more guys step up to avenge their buddy, which forces Fandral to jump out of the counter and draw his blade.
They're armed.
Though, it seems like he only smacks them with the flat side of it, at least. Still feels a little bit excessive, but hey, whatever. These are close quarters for such a rowdy fight, so Volstagg heads for the door, definitely not trying to escape or anything.
Oh, come on.
Well, 2 guys step in the way, but get immediately bowled over, so he contributed, I guess.
Volstagg, you were never in any danger. Come on.
They didn't, these idiots didn't stand a chance. I have opinions and feelings and headcanons about Volstagg's quote-unquote cowardice. I'm not going to get into it right now, but just know I have thoughts about that.
Of course you do. I would be shocked if you didn't.
I have read too many Thor comics to not have thoughts about that.
Gotta wait for a twofer for that.
Hogan is managing himself, but isn't really being fun about it. So, whatever. Meanwhile, Rags has snuck behind the bar to grab a bottle for the show, which gives him a perfect vantage point to whack a guy who is winding up to throw his own bottle.
Rude.
Fandral declares that these fellows are no true warriors, a taunt that falls on deaf ears as Hogan points out that everyone else in the building has been rendered unconscious.
Oh no.
A pretty short fight, all things considered, but that's for the best.
A short fight with lots of head trauma.
Yes. We still need to find Arnold, and Rags says that there are 18 more bars to cover in this area.
That's a lot of head trauma.
1 down, 18 to go.
Volstagg laments the prospect of repeating this process that many times, but luckily for him, that's not going to be necessary. While the boys were goofing around, Mary spotted her man walking down the pier. This really is a match made in heaven because Arnie was also convinced that their relationship was over and so came here to drown himself.
Oh, good grief.
They're both dramatic bitches.
This Romeo and Juliet ass fucking pair.
Seriously. But now they found each other and everything is fine, I guess. I still have some questions, like why did he borrow money from loan sharks?
The world may never
addressed.
know.
It's fine, I guess. Whatever. Mary says they're going to go to the police and see if they can get him a deal for handing over evidence about the robbery.
Turning state's evidence
Not a terrible idea.
Not the worst plan, I guess.
Then once that's all done, they're getting hitched. But why? Wait, asks Fandral. He ushers them back into the cab, and Myron rushes everyone off to the courthouse, where a very disgruntled judge...
It's the middle of the night,
marries
good
the happy
sir.
couple at 3 a.m. under threat of being stabbed with an actual sword. Mary and Arnold climb into the cab, but this time it's for their honeymoon, and so the Warriors 3 shan't accompany them. Fandral suggests they go see Niagara Falls as he tosses a coin purse to the very patient cabbie, a request which Myron is all too willing to fulfill once he finds that the coin purse is full of gold coins.
Okay, yeah, that's like...
It's not valid currency, but it is gold.
Yes. I don't know what that's worth.
Fine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you have to get it converted, but
Yeah.
once you do...
It'll spend.
Ooh, it will spend.
And that looks like a pretty handful, too. Myron and the newlyweds speed off, leaving Rags and the Warriors 3 behind. Once again, they stand on the sidewalk with nowhere to go and nothing to do, but much to Volstag's dismay, Fandral has a plan to remedy this as he calls for another taxi.
Oh no!
So what would you guys rate this comic?
4 stars, honestly.
Sure, that was fun.
It was stupid, but it was good dumb fun.
Right! It was supposed to be stupid, though.
Right.
And it worked.
And it was fun, and there was no... It was very, the pacing felt very good.
Yes.
It was constant. We're constantly moving. And, the characterization was really good.
This was fun.
And it was very fun, so yeah, 4.
Yeah, 4.
This is the best thing I've ever read from Len.
Oh no. Don't tell me
I
that.
don't know, we read Giant Size X-Men was Len.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, it's the best Thor that I've read from Len.
That's still very disappointing.
Well, it shouldn't be a surprise, though, given the other things we've read. So, that was a fun little side trip, I guess. Now we're gonna go back to Thor number 251 from June of 1976, written by Len Wein, penciled by John Buscema, inked by Tony DeZuniga, colored by Glynis Wein, and the cover is once again Jack Kirby.
I'm not sure what's going on with Hella.
Oh, just Jack.
Yeah.
Jack doing his thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure Jack knows.
Not your best work, Jack.
Jack, you do know how to draw women, right?
Hips could use some work.
She could use a pelvis, yeah. We return to Thor at long last, once more pursuing his favorite pastime, sitting alone and brooding.
I feel like that's something his father had been doing quite a bit of.
Yeah, I think Thor and Loki both get that from their dad. Sif interrupts his depression to ask if he's sad that she replaced Jane.
Ooh.
He reassures her that he loves her just as much, and again I will say that his relationship with both of them makes me uncomfortable, and I wish either of these women would exercise some agency for once in their goddamn lives.
But right now they're sexy lamps.
Yep. Anyway, what he's actually fretting about is, of course, Odin. They now know that after being freed from the spell of the Egyptians, the Allfather did not return to Asgard, but they have no idea where he did go, and that's bad news, because we have established that the well-being of Asgard itself is somehow linked to its king. Somehow. Unclear on the exact mechanics of that. The good news is that Seth is on the case. They decide to go on down to the wizard room to see if there's any news. And it's good timing, because Balder and Carnilla are also there.
They have a wizard room?
Yeah, Seth's room.
Ah.
He's the wizard. He's the court wizard.
And thus they have a wizard room.
Exactly. Seth has been hard at work the past several days on his wizarding stuff, and now he has findings to present. The findings are, he didn't find shit. There's no trace of Odin anywhere in the entire universe.
Well, that's not good.
This news, or lack thereof, only makes Thor more anxious.
What? It doesn't make him more calm and collected and comfortable?
To him it sounds as though his greatest fears have been realized. That Odin is actually dead for really reals. Unfortunately, it's distinctly possible, as the Vizier doesn't have the ability to look in on Hela's domain for some reason, and I will take a slight tangent to note that he does specifically say that he can't look at Valhalla because he can't see into the realm of death, which is a common misconception. Mythologically speaking, Valhalla isn't actually part of Hel or Hela's domain. It actually has nothing to do with her because Odin created and rules Valhalla, and it's supposed to just be smack dab in the middle of Asgard. Like, literally, it's just there.
Don't they fix that later? In the comics?
Kind of. It's just one of those things that...
Like, I don't know, maybe decades from now, but still.
It's just one of those things that kind of depends on how much the writer cares about it. But... You know, I'm not going to get mad about this because most people just assume all the dead people go to the same place.
Well,
right?
Yeah, that's because we live in a society that
Christianization
tends to believe in one thing about that.
Anyway, since Seth can't pull it up on the magic flat screen, it seems like Thor will just have to go down there and look.
That's not a great move, but...
I mean, he's got no other move, so... Sif objects, but of course he's going to do it anyway, so let's not dwell on it. Jump cut to outside where Thor prepares a horse for his journey. The Warriors 3 offer to assist, but as usual, this is a test for Thor alone. Every time a writer does this, it seems pretty transparent that they just don't want to deal with more characters, which is fine, I guess, but it feels silly for Thor not to take his buddies. Sometimes. Sif is emotional because she's a woman, and then Thor leaves Baldur and the Warriors 3 in charge while he takes off.
Wait, so is there a hierarchy here, or...
Unclear.
Of course. Thanks, Len.
Before long, the Thunder God finds himself riding through obscuring mists at the border of Niflheim. Go ahead and mark off the strange and confusing geography of Asgard on your bingo card. Were you under the impression that the 9 realms were like alternate dimensions or planes that you had to use magic to get to?
Yes.
Well, fuck you, because Thor just rode a horse.
Okay. Fuck me, I guess.
I can't even blame this one on Len because it's a pretty consistent inconsistency. The borders between the realms are so weird and undefined. Sometimes we have to teleport to them. Sometimes we use the Bifrost. Sometimes we fly there.
Sometimes we take a boat that flies there.
Yeah, sometimes we have to physically traverse the actual world tree, and sometimes you just ride a fucking horse.
Those are all things that have happened from the start of the series,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
No, all of that has happened.
Oh, God.
Thor urges his steed through the fog and across a golden bridge. In the distance, he can see the hills of Valhalla, and I cannot emphasize enough how much that is not a thing. Don't worry about it, though, because suddenly the horse falls over. And on the next page, we learn that it just fucking died.
Well...
Like, it was so scared that it had a heart attack, I guess, and died.
You know, horses are kind of...
oh, hey,
flighty.
it's Hirokin.
I kind of... That's a really funny way to say that. I kind of feel like the horse was not necessary for this traveling sequence if it was just going to die for no reason.
Also...
Like, are we supposed to feel something about the horse dying? Because I don't.
Also, Thor has some really bold, really thick lines in this one panel for no obvious reason.
Yeah.
So why do we ride horses if we can just fling our hammer and
He can
fly?
fly! Why does he need a horse?
So the horse
Kills
can...
me.
So the horse can die on the way
So
there.
the horse can die, and maybe we're supposed to feel something about that, but we don't.
We don't?
I don't. Do you?
I just met the horse.
I feel pretty sad about the horse.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I mean, Thor is also kind of sad about the horse.
Man after my own heart.
He continues on foot until a voice calls out to him, and yes, this page is laid out so poorly that they had to put in a fucking arrow to tell you how to read
I
it.
hate when they have to do that.
No.
It goes from that panel to the long one, and then there's an arrow pointing to
I
that
can
one.
see that.
It's always a bad sign when you see an arrow on a page.
Yeah.
Who do we blame?
Let's see. John Buscema.
You're
John.
usually better than this.
Yeah, this is uncharacteristic.
John, you're actually a good artist, even if you're working with a kind of mid writer right now.
But hey, who's that up on the cliff? Why, it's Hirokin, or Hirokin, as Ripley just said a minute ago.
Do we know?
You guys remember Hirokin, right?
Yeah?
The guy who got killed in Tales of Asgard from issue 133?
Yeah, and then Thor put ash in his hair to pretend to be him.
Yes, he did. That happened, yes. He was the leader of a band of barbarians who defied Odin's rule, and then we saw him in issue 154 in Valhalla. Everybody loves Hirokin, I guess.
Harokin.
You know, I don't... Do I know this because I just re-listened to everything recently? Maybe.
Yes.
Of
Do I
course.
know this just because I know this? Maybe. We don't know. It could be either of those things.
I had no idea who he was.
Thor did impersonate him once by putting ash in his hair, which was dumb.
Did it work?
Yes.
Yes, unfortunately.
So
they look uncannily similar
They
somehow.
Or most of Asgard is face blind.
Also, putting ashes on blonde hair does not make it
you
brown.
yeah.
Very face blind.
Hurricane is thrilled to see Thor. No hard feelings about the whole business with killing him, because now they're both in Valhalla and they can kill each other for fun every day forever.
Sorry, but Thor's not dead.
But Thor doesn't have time for fun. And he's not even dead. He only came to find Odin. Well, there's a problem with that, because the living aren't meant to walk in Valhalla, and the very idea seems to trigger some instinctive reaction in the dead warriors.
Ew.
I'm trying so hard not to call them Inheriar, because nobody will know what that means.
I mean, I know I've heard the term.
I think I said it. I definitely have talked about it before, but I'm not gonna, whip it out without an explanation, so I'm just gonna avoid it.
Has that come up in newer Thor stuff?
Yeah, it's a term that gets used.
Then I haven't
usually
encountered it.
wrongly, but they do use it. One of the guys throws a fucked up looking javelin, which Thor catches and breaks with his bare hand.
That thing doesn't look like it would throw, well.
No, it doesn't look aerodynamic at all.
Well, he broke it with one hand, so...
Yeah, I mean, clearly.
I'm not sure it would have actually hurt him if it hit him.
Tink.
Maybe that's why this guy's dead.
You know what? I mean, these are the honored dead.
They are. They died in battle.
That doesn't mean they were competent.
Yeah, well, arguably.
It means they died in battle. That doesn't mean they were the best at battle.
Okay, you've triggered my special interest. Technically, not everyone who dies in battle goes to Valhalla. There is an element of Odin being like, yeah, you go, right?
Oh, so he's got a list and he's checking it twice.
Yeah. There's a very specific set of rules that qualify you for Valhalla, but at the end of the day, it is kind of just Odin being like, you.
So if Odin liked this guy and his fucked up spear...
Yeah. Odin thought he was cool. That's why he's here.
He's like, oh, you? I like your hat.
Yeah.
That's my style.
You have a really weird hat.
Yeah, you belong here.
You know the way to my heart.
Only people with
fucked up hat.
Yes, only people with really weird hats are welcome in Valhalla.
I mean, that checks.
Yes. The dead cannot abide a living soul in their midst, but the Ardenson isn't prepared to die just yet, which means it's time to throw down. Hurricane seemingly doesn't understand why Thor wouldn't want to die and be in Valhalla, so he urges the warriors on despite Thor's protests. Of course, this isn't really a problem for the god of thunder, but as he casts off the latest round of attackers, he catches a glimpse of a shadowy figure watching from above. His heart clenches as he seems to recognize this warrior. Could it truly be? Now let's interrupt the action for 3 panels that to me seem utterly pointless. Balder is anxious about Thor's quest, and Carnilla reassures him a bit. Then he asks why she's still here when she's already fulfilled what she agreed to do. She says that she doesn't owe him an explanation and asks if he wants her to leave, to which he says nay. Wasn't that valuable? Didn't this contribute to the story? Didn't this give us information that we couldn't have already assumed?
I'm guessing they were short.
It feels like a page filler, yeah. Thor calls up to the figure on the cliffside, but is met only with cold silence. Finally, it's time for Hurricane to jump into the fray, declaring that in order to leave, Thor must earn the right through combat.
Okay. Bet.
Mortal Kombat! He gets a good punch in while taunting the Thunder God, but Thor comes back with a blow to the ground, creating a tremor that topples Hurricane and sends him flying. The fighters of Valhalla have at this point wheeled out some absolutely bullshit war machine that's basically a giant bow and arrow on wheels, and no, I'm not talking about a ballista because it's not sideways.
That's not any kind of...
No, that's nothing. That is a nothing.
Yes, this is nothing.
That's a nothing. And
here I was gonna say, you mean a ballista?
No, I don't mean a ballista. And the arrow is blunt because I guess we can't just show our hero getting impaled yet.
No, we want him getting blunt force trauma, not,
sharp force trauma.
Anyway, they hit him in the back and he falls, but is he dead? Ooh, who knows? Time for another pointless diversion as Sif pesters the Vizier for news of her beloved. She gets emotional because she's a woman, and Seth comforts her at the end. Wasn't that valuable to the story? Again? Some undetermined amount of time later, Thor awakens. Still alive, but not exactly feeling perky. He continues to lay where he fell, silently regaining his faculties and listening to the conversation around him. Hurricane asks if Thor has regained consciousness, to which one of the warriors responds in the negative and says that his quest has ended.
It was called the bludgeon bow.
Not sure why he thinks that, because they clearly know he's not dead, but whatever, because Thor springs up to challenge that statement. Not a great move, because he's still recovering, which his enemies take note of before beginning Wave 2 of the Kill Thor initiative. There really isn't much of interest to say about this fight, just know that a fight is happening, and we are going to move past it, because on the next page there's a twist. It's a fairly predictable twist, given that she's on the cover, and even if she wasn't, we would see this coming a mile away, but the point is, Hela's here.
Wow.
Hello, Hela.
I must say, I don't feel like our art team has put forth their best effort on the Death Goddess today. If you guys didn't want to draw all that detail, you could have just given her a different outfit.
Yeah, this was pretty lazy.
Man.
A lot of things feel lazy in this issue, actually. This might have been a rush job.
Yeah, that's not even a good Thor face in the panel.
No, that's really
there.
bad.
It's too long. Like, why give Thor such a long face?
Why is he so gaunt? Why
Yeah.
do his eyes look like that?
They look sunken.
Hela asks why the fuck Thor is causing problems in her place of business, and he responds that he's looking for his dad, and he's pretty sure he found him. Hela's like, nah dude, but he doesn't believe her. And so he climbs up the cliffs toward the figure which he identified as Odin. However, as he reaches the man, he is dismayed to find not the Allfather, but some dude named Grombar.
Well, you see, the problem is, Odin always has a different hat.
Yeah.
And because he always has a different hat, you can't tell when
The
it's
problem
Odin.
is you were just talking about how everyone in Asgard is face blind, but that also includes Thor.
Yes. Yes, it does. Thor is also suffering from some amount of face blindness.
The Odinson pulls himself up to the summit and collapses in despair that all his efforts were for naught. Grombar comforts him by insisting he accept his fate and be happy in Valhalla. And though he means well, it's a notion that swings Thor from deepest depression to fiery rage.
Yeah, that tracks.
Thor says thee nay, as he holds his fist skyward, and the mists of Niflheim part with a storm the likes of which the realm of the dead has never seen. Then, once he's worn himself out, the Odinson descends the cliffside to where Hela patiently waits for him to finish his temper tantrum. He apologizes and is pardoned, then begins his slow trudge back home. Hurricane asks why Hela would allow Thor to leave, and she explains that she will have him in her own time. So we're back to the good Hela characterization.
Good.
Better.
This is much better than what we were having on the fucking cover.
Yeah. She also says that killing him now would be a mercy compared to what he must endure when he returns to the land of the living. So what would you guys rate this one?
3.
I'm not really sure what this does for the story
It's
so
far.
far.
Nothing. It's kind of a nothing.
Yeah.
I'm at a 2.
Yeah, it's not even... It's a weak showing from the art team, too.
It's a weak showing from everyone. It, honestly,
2.5.
it does feel kind of rushed. So...
Yeah, 2.5.
Well, let us continue on to Thor number 252, from July of 1976. Written by Len Wein, penciled by John Buscema, inked by Tony DeZuniga, colored by Glynis Wein, lettered by Joe Rosen, cover once again by Jack Kirby.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, because it looks...
It's rough.
Thor's got a sunburn.
Yeah.
Jack is not... he's not been bringing his A game for these covers, I have to say.
Did Jack work on Thor before?
Yes!
Yes!
Jack created Thor!
Yes!
Jack and Stan.
Yes!
I'm sorry, it's not the most memorable stuff.
Well, no.
That's
Jack and Stan are iconic and memorable not because they were good, but because they kind of paved the way for everything, basically.
They're at the start of a legacy that is bigger than them.
Yes. I mean, they're very iconic because they created a lot of long-lasting characters.
They are good, but they're...
they were good in their time.
Yes.
Yeah. But, from a modern perspective...
It hasn't aged well.
It doesn't work as well. With all other options exhausted, Thor now turns to outside sources in his search for Odin. Sif, Karnilla, and Balder all advise against this, but he... What?
That panel is great.
Well, that's not Jack.
I know, that's the thing. John Buscema and Tony DeZuniga
they
usually
also did the last issue.
Yeah, they usually do a great job.
Why is Joe Rosen just isolated
Why is his name
here?
so big and in the corner?
I think they might have forgotten to put him
No,
up.
Joe does the littering. He did that.
Now you asked and answered.
Joe, you wanted to be separate from everyone?
He wants to be special.
Joe Rosen.
He wants to be special. He's a special boy.
Yes. Looking at it now, it really does feel like that last issue was a rush job. I don't know, maybe something happened in the bullpen and they didn't have enough time.
But, because, look at this. There's just the perspective on that. Seeing, the Vizier and his...
The lighting on the Vizier is really good.
On it. Yeah, you can see that it doesn't reach on to the backs of his hands.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good.
They're good artists.
Yeah, they just sometimes don't bring their A game.
Yeah.
It happens. Sif, Karnilla, and Balder all advise against this, but Thor refuses to listen because he's desperate. And so he orders Seth to call up the contractor. After uttering a spell into a brazier, the face of Mimir, notorious fire guy, appears before them.
We're getting desperate, aren't we?
Thor begins to explain the situation, but as soon as he mentions Odin being gone, Mimir calls a timeout. Imagine you're the god of wisdom, just chilling out in your well, because you can't go anywhere, because, by the way, you're just ahead. And Thor dials up your hotline to ask where his dad is. So you tell him, and then a week later, the exact same thing happens again. I'd be pretty fucking miffed, personally. As it happens, the last time Thor asked, he got his answer pro bono, due to some agreement Mimir has with the Allfather. This time he is not going to be so lucky, though, as the Wisdom God demands a tribute before he will shell out any information.
Thor didn't know he was running on credit.
Yeah. And not just any tribute. Oh no. He wants, So he says there's a dragon guarding the golden gates to the realm below.
Whatever that is.
Whatever the hell that means. And this dragon has a ruby eye on its forehead that Mimir wants. There are a number of various dragons in Norse mythology that I could probably claim this is a reference to, though it'd be a stretch. But I think Len is just throwing bullshit, and it would be a waste of brain power to think about it more than necessary. So, the God of Thunder is reluctant to do this because he doesn't want to steal, which is odd because he's a Viking god. But it's far from the first time that Marvel writers have projected their own morals onto him rather than considering the cultural values of the place and time that he comes from.
Well, they forgot who he's supposed to be.
Yeah. Also, this is the first time I've heard of Thor caring about taking anything
Might
from
be a comics code thing.
It might be, yes.
Yeah, that actually tracks real good.
Well, yeah, I was thinking that, but I wasn't gonna dwell on it for longer. But I will say this is the first time I've heard about Thor caring about taking anything from a monster. Whatever, that's what Mimir wants, so that's what we gotta get. So everybody hikes outside the city to a literal hole in the ground, where Thor says goodbye before he begins his descent.
For a moment I thought he was actually going to take the gang.
Nope. The Warriors 3 aren't even in this issue.
Oh no.
No, it's just Balder, Karnilla, Sif, and Seth. And they wave goodbye.
Of course. You know, the writers who do good work with Thor seem to actually bring Thor's buddies.
They lean on the supporting cast, because Thor actually has a really good supporting cast.
But the writers
and a diverse supporting cast.
The writers who don't use Thor well, they leave his buddies behind.
That's the good thing about, if you've noticed,
Yeah.
any title.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that if they're doing it well, they lean on their supporting cast. That's
Right.
the best thing about any good Spider-Man run. I'm sure any good Iron Man run, probably, he's leaning on his supporting cast.
Because, I mean,
It's about the interpersonal dynamics, baby. It's about the soap opera.
If you just think about it logically, like, what are you going to be able to convey with one character?
Like,
who are they talking to?
That Hadouken
Who are
guy.
they Who are they bouncing off of? Ripley's gonna die.
I've literally already forgotten his name.
Hurricane.
Sure, Hadouken, whatever. Look, that's who he's gonna bounce things off of. Some guy who came from
Because Ripley said that a weird way, John is forever going to remember his name is Hadouken. That's fine. You know, it's just like, come on.
No, instead we have Sif being sad because her man is leaving.
Because she's a woman.
And we have less of a gang waiting around to say goodbye to him. We've done this before.
So, I will point out that he's using his hammer as a climbing pick again. And as always, I feel the need to point out how much that would not work.
Mm-hmm.
But in reverse this time.
Yeah.
Which actually works less.
Yeah, so what I think they meant by the realm below is they're referring to the kind of underground realm where the trolls live.
Oh.
Through all the inconsistent and confusing geography involved in Thor,
we've actually been here before.
I feel like Troll World is definitely the worst, because it seems like the only thing we know is that it's underground. Underground where? Well, sometimes it's under Asgard. Sometimes it's in the Norn Queen's realm. Sometimes it's the Isle of Silence, and sometimes it's under Korea.
That's a choice. Sometimes it's under...
I don't know.
Oh, well, maybe it's all of them.
Yeah, maybe it's just like a general underground dimension.
Under all ground, if you dig deep enough, you'll find a troll.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to believe that all of these things are true. Like,
yeah.
That you can go to all of these places if you just believe that they are there. Sometimes you can take a horse. Sometimes you need a flying boat. Sometimes where you're going is under an island. Sometimes it's under Korea.
It's funny you should say that, because that's actually how I tend to look at it. Because of all the inconsistencies and retcons. You have to be very flexible with this, but considering that it's mythology and magic, you can kind of be like, okay, well, there's like some weird element of like believing, intending to go there maybe.
And
like it's somehow elementally linked to whatever. Of course, that's not explicitly stated in the comics ever. None of this was planned, but...
it may become stated in the future.
We'll see about that. I frankly don't expect it to ever come up. Thor climbs down into this cave system that seems to be full of, like, belching geysers and noxious pools of acid.
Pink acid.
Not exactly prime real estate. He spends a couple panels recapping the horse shit that's been going on with Odin being missing.
Who are you talking to, Thor?
Exactly! If there was somebody here, he could talk to them.
No, he's just talking to
fucking recapping the last 5 issues for no reason.
You know what? This would actually look a lot better if it just didn't have any of those text boxes.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, I think most of these panels
oh my God.
could be textless.
That is a thing that drives me so fucking crazy about older comics. You can't have a page without any text bubbles on it. Everything has to have...
He has to be talking to himself.
Something. They have to be talking. We can't just show him traversing this land and let the art speak for itself. We have to have some stupid fucking
And that's
monologue.
the thing. These artists are good enough to be able to sell that.
But they never do, and it drives me crazy. Carefully, the God of Thunder picks his way through the winding tunnels, apparently having at least a vague knowledge of how to traverse this dark and forbidding area. After a while, he comes across a chasm filled with roaring fire, with a very untrustworthy stone bridge. It's carved out of the rock and doesn't have any supports, which I suppose we could chalk up to magic, but I still wouldn't want to try it. Luckily, the Odinson is much braver than I am, because he has to cross this bridge to get where he needs to go.
Well, if he could see the other end, maybe he could just, I don't know, fly there.
Yeah, it's almost like he could fucking fly.
Also, can't he time travel? Couldn't he go back in time before Odin vanished?
Great question. So on the other side, he finally arrives at a glittering golden gate that is indeed guarded by a dragon with a single ruby eye.
You know what? I'm not sure this thing existed until Mimir asked for its ruby eye.
I don't think it existed until Len thought of it just now.
Well, yeah, but I mean in universe.
Yeah. And when I say dragon, I want you to understand that I'm using it as an umbrella term. I was a dragon kid, and I still love dragons, and I'm fully aware of the different subcategories.
Oh no, let's not get into the nonsensical subcategories of imaginary creatures.
Dragon taxonomy.
Yes, dragon taxonomy.
This guy has 4 legs and no wings, which means he's actually a drake.
Oh god damn it.
But I don't want to confuse anyone. For the sake of clarity, I'm going to keep calling it a dragon. With his goal in sight, Thor springs forward, determined to complete his quest and find out where his dad is. But just then, a voice issues a challenge. It's Ulik, again. He was on the cover, so we knew it was him.
But why are you here, Ulik?
Well...
How are you here?
Well, you might be thinking that Ulik is here to stop Thor from taking something that falls under the jurisdiction of the Troll Kingdom.
That would actually make some sense.
I'm gonna say Ulik wants it instead.
Yes, Ripley's correct.
The former would actually make more sense, considering...
The former would make more sense, yes, which is why
he's not...
I would assume that. But no, he wants the jewel himself, and them meeting here is a complete coincidence.
Ah, god damn it.
It's fighting time.
Because of course it is.
You know how it goes. We don't need to give a play-by-play commentary.
Because fights haven't changed in...
Well,
a
fight, as I was telling Ripley earlier, a fight between... If you read one fight between Thor and Ulik, you've read all of them. Through the dialogue, it seems like Ulik needs this gem to save his people from something or other, though he does mention that doing so will help him get off the naughty list after he tried to do a coup like 2 or 3 times.
A Kulik?
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. He fights more ferociously than ever, leading Thor to wonder if there's any truth to his claims, as the fight takes them out onto the precarious bridge over the pit of flames.
Oh, well, it's a shame we can't see the flames.
No, it's just this fight goes on for way too
Oh my
long,
god.
and there's nothing of value.
It's well drawn.
Yeah.
Like compared to the last issue, like this Thor
It's
face.
well drawn, but do we need, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages?
Of fight in a, 18-page?
Yeah. I don't know, it just feels excessive. But it doesn't really matter if Ulik's intentions are noble or not, because without the gem, we can't find Odin. And without Odin, Asgard will die, I guess.
And Ulik is a designated bad guy, so it doesn't matter what he wants.
We don't give a shit if the trolls die.
Yeah.
So, the fight continues as both combatants struggle for the future of their people. They exchange a few blows and tumble around until Ulik stands over the God of Thunder, prepared to crush him with his mace. He spends too long gloating, though, and Thor turns the tables by whacking him over the head with Mjolnir. The troll reels back, complaining about the ringing in his ears. But it was all a ruse to catch Thor off guard. With one swift kick, the God of Thunder plummets down into the fire. Ulik celebrates his victory because I guess he forgot that Thor can fly.
Never trust a troll. There's a lesson taught in your kind at childhood that you should never have forgotten. Never trust a troll.
You know, we could do a lot of work fixing the trolls and, giving them valid motives and...
rehabilitating them.
yeah, and I suspect that won't be done for decades.
So what would you guys rate this?
2.
Yeah, 2.
Absolutely agreed. However, I do have some exciting news.
Oh?
Tales of Asgard is back.
Oh.
That's exciting in a bad way.
For 2 issues, anyway. We've got a B-story written by David Kraft, pencils and lines by Pablo Marcos, colored by Glenn Sween, and lettered by John Costanza.
Well, that's a choice, I guess. I guess someone has gotten bored of Len. Someone else other than us.
Got a couple of new names here. So, a fun fact about David Kraft. Cute little story I heard is that he decided even when he was little he was going to be a writer for Marvel. So he picked a closet in his house, muscled a desk in there, got a lamp, called it his office, and told his mom that's exactly what he was going to do.
Wow.
Well,
that's adorable.
If the story's true, it worked.
Good job, buddy.
Pablo Marcos has had a pretty extensive career, winding all the way down from Peru up to here. But I like the tidbit I read that when he came up to the States and he was looking for jobs, his wife was the one who thought to bring all the samples of his old work for editors to look at. So that's cute.
Aw.
There is a little editor's note here to let us know that this story takes place immediately after the B story from Journey into Mystery 102, in which a young Thor saves Sif from some giants and gains the ability to use Mjolnir through his selfless heroism. So, keep that in mind. With hammer in hand, teen Thor rides across a barren ridge, reflecting on the fulfillment of his long-held dream to wield the mighty Mjolnir. He thinks of all the trials he faced and battles he fought in an effort to prove his ability to his father as well as himself, from retrieving the golden apples of Idun when they were stolen by giants, to that time he defended Asgard from the forces of evil all by himself.
He was so little.
We did actually read about these in Tales of Asgard, but it was a long-ass time ago, so I don't expect you to remember. More importantly, look how cute baby Thor is.
Yeah, what is going on? You made Thor cute.
Pablo Marcos actually put in effort to make Thor look like a kid. Not only in these flashbacks to make him look like a young kid, but also to make the Thor in this story look like a teenager.
He does. He looks wiry.
Yeah.
Which,
he
he's
looks
still
like a
buff,
kid.
but he's more wiry than our normal brick shithouse Thor.
And then in this flashback, he looks even younger.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to
I wish that was how that were in all the other stories, where he looked like as much of a kid.
Tales of Asgard could have been doing that.
I would like to applaud Pablo Marcos for this.
Oh, yeah.
You did a great job, and baby Thor is extremely cute.
He is adorable.
We need more of that in our lives.
We're gonna get a lot more young Thor in the future. No matter his deeds, however, still he could never lift the hammer because he considered it a matter of strength. Physical strength, that is. It seems like he still doesn't fully understand how it works, even as he recalls his adventure to save Sif from the clutches of Hela, which, according to the editor's note, literally just happened. As we all know, the hammer is based on, if you're worthy.
Yes.
So it's more about his selfless act to go save Sif that made him able to wield it more than his muscles or whoever he fought. But his reverie is intruded upon by a lone figure standing atop a hill. The person calls out a challenge to the young prince, but I will note that Thor was kind of being a dick, so he earned it. Thor sees this dude standing on a hill and is like, hey, you're in my way, fucking move.
Wow.
And it's like, you could just go around him, Thor.
Actually, you'd have to go out of your way for him to be in yours.
He's not in your way. Of course, the God of Thunder is never one to refuse a challenge, so he turns his horse toward the figure, waving his mallet as he boldly monologues about how cool he is.
Oh, no.
The person in question, as it turns out, is a young storm giant. Right around Thor's age, in fact. Just two teenagers yelling at each other for no reason.
Yeah, that's
That
normal.
tracks. Thor stirs up a whirlwind, but the giant says that he has the power of the earth itself because he worked in the troll mines.
Is that how that works?
I guess. So he chucks a boulder at the young Asgardian, which, due to his inexperience and bravado, Thor fails to dodge. It hits his horse, sending both mount and rider to the ground in a heap, and rip the second horse of this.
We did not just
2 issues.
kill 2 horses in 2 issues.
The giant continues to mock Thor as he recovers, but before he can reclaim his hammer, it's covered by one very nasty-looking foot.
Ugh. Those are some claws.
Yeah.
Pedicure.
Seriously. Thor rises to fight once more, but finds his feet sinking into the ground as if by magic. Quickly he's trapped up to the waist, and the giant hefts another boulder to crush him. Still, young Thor holds hope that he can escape this encounter with his life, and we will find out what happens in the next issue.
Huh.
So what did you guys think of this B-story?
3. I enjoyed it.
It's not terrible.
Not terrible. Not great. Not terrible.
I liked Pablo Marcos' art.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
It's different.
Yes.
So, yeah, 3.
All right. I agree. And that's all I have this week.
All right.
Thank you for your attention.
Wonderful. We never like to belabor the point too much here at the end.
Uh-huh.
So
Usually because we're very tired.
Yes.
that is the case here as well. So that's going to be it for us this week. And we look forward to talking to you next time. Bye.
Bye.